one from Boston. He's the one from New York.
What? Oh, we're live.
Oh, we're live. Oh, what's up? Hey, what's up, SMITE fans? How y'all doing? You can't see us. Okay, now you can see us. I was looking at, you should never look at the monitor that you're on. That's always bad. Yeah, that's bad. This is like bad commentary.
Hey, you know what? I think we've earned enough. You know, it was this hour 12. Bad commentary is going to happen.
I mean, with you on the mic, it absolutely is going to. But, so, I mean, Mifflin, how have you been enjoying your SMITE World Championship?
Oh, it's been great, man. The fans are electric.
So what's up? What's your name, man?
Oh, I'm Spiro.
Spiro, nice to meet you. Yo, can you shut up, dude? Yo, can you shut up, dude? So, we're on the conversation over here. So where are you coming from, man?
Yo, I'm here from Tennessee.
Tennessee, that's a big jump. Yo, actually, I know a guy from Tennessee. You're the coolest guy I know from Tennessee right now.
Dude, thank you so much. You're the coolest guy in this entire building. I need you to know that too.
Am I cooler than this guy?
Yeah, I mean, the coolest in the building, so yes.
All right, I like that. I'll take that. All right. Fair is fair, fair is fair. Myth, your turn.
You're not supposed to give the interviewee the mic, man.
Well, it looks like
Dims the rules. Oh, okay, word. I don't know how to do this. What?
Cool beard, man.
Thank you. Should you like grow that yourself or?
No, actually I bought it at Walmart.
Shouts to the Walton family. Oh man. So F-Dot comes up to me, I'm trying to leave actually, and he says, Mifflin, please, you have to talk to me for a minute and a half, and it feels like I've been here for a half hour already.
I mean, it feels even longer for me because I have to listen to you. So I feel, hey, what's up, buddy? What's your name?
Rosemary.
And where are you coming from?
Houston.
Houston, that's pretty sick. Give it up. So, you root for the Hounds tonight?
Yes. Oh, they didn't make it.
Oh, no. Well, who's your favorite player, though?
Ducky.
You know what? Don't tell Zapman, but me too. There's so many different types of people here, and some of them are even cool. Not everybody's cool, but some of them are cool for sure. Thanks so much for coming through, bud. Anyway, I think are there more games?
Yeah.
Who's playing?
It's Camelot Kings and the Oni Warriors. God, you put me on the spot.
He didn't know.
Vamos.
Oh, vamos. There it is. We got the Oni Warriors coming up. And a heck of a lot of good SMITE. One more time. Oh, I said I would never say the one more time thing.
I got you. One more time. Make some noise. That's it. Make some noise.
Back to y'all up there.
Final quarterfinal of the day. Get loud for your reigning champs, Camelot Kings. And their opponents, make some noise for Oni Warriors.
Season 10 has not been a season without a little bit of drama. The Oni Warriors and the Camelot Kings at the forefront of some of that, and a lot of that culminating in roster changes and those sorts of things. And now that culminates in a matchup in the quarterfinals on the main stage. My analyst desk has changed up just a bit. It's Trelly, it's Gormizer, Hazer still with me. Hazer, they keep letting you come out here, man. Unbelievable.
Forcing him out here.
What's that?
We're like forcing him out. He's got a chain on his desk, dude.
I know, they won't let him leave, but I'm happy about it because he's been carrying me all day long. Gore and Trelly, welcome to the desk for the first time today. Trelly, you get to start with me on a great one here. Camelot Kings, Oni Warriors, seen some good SMITE up to this point. What a way to end the day.
I just want to say, first of all, I missed you, buddy.
I missed you too. I missed everyone, but I'm happy to be here. I missed you. maybe Gore most of all.
Anyone else?
J-Mac, Frog,
Bobby. Got them all? Perfect.
Got them all. Got everyone. Let's talk about the Oni Warriors, though. Missed you too, Joe. Let's talk about the Oni Warriors, our first side of this quarterfinal matchup. Goremizer, this is a team that surprised us at the beginning of the year, but then it became the norm to win and to win and to win and to win, and that kept going in the second half of the year. I'm not sure that stops here today.
Yeah, the thing I really liked about this team, specifically going into the second half, is when you end such a historic run in set wins to the point where no one else has ever done that many set wins in a row, you kind of have to do, I think, exactly what Genetic said, which is like, I'm not letting these guys get through phase 2 without a couple of losses, right? You got to get knocked down a couple of times. And they really have, I think, really empowered themselves, grown as an entire squad. And they're just made of, dudes that are just too good at SMITE. I mean, we talked about it the entire year. Mechanical skill was never a doubt with this team. It was always direction, it was always leadership. And then it turns out at the beginning of the year they didn't need it because they were just going to run everybody down and out-mechanic them, period. And then in the second half of the year, picking up genetics, that's kind of what it added for them, was having a little bit more direction, having more of that leadership in the late game team fight specifically, to try and stop your Pegons from diving a speed buff at 7 minutes in to make sure that he's not dying, things like that.
It's hard to match a 10-0 phase 1. Oni Warriors go 7-3 trailing in phase 2. I'll hesitate to ask, are they playing their best SMITE? Because, again, a historic run is your best SMITE. Are they playing good enough SMITE? Are they playing good enough Oni Warriors SMITE to keep this thing moving, semifinals, potentially grand finals later on?
I don't think there's a team out there that doesn't at least have some level of respect for these guys because of what Gore said. Sometimes they're just better. They will show up on the day and they will play better SMITE than you. Whether it's, you know, their team fights, not so much. Whether it's their grouping, not so much. It's just individually in each role, they're gonna diff you. That doesn't happen always. As you just said, there has been some blemishes on the record, but with a team that has potential like that, you gotta come in every game calculated. And you know, the Camelot Kings, when they heard this was their matchup, you gotta take an exhale at first and say, okay, all right, these guys are tough, but hey, we have to learn how to, number one, just slow down Panitom, or sorry, you gotta slow down jungle. It's just too much pressure. The jungle can come out swinging, and once it does, the game just gets over.
And on the flip side of the stage, facing the Oni Warriors, the defending champ, the Camelot Kings, also at the front of some of these roster changes. Quig added to this roster. Rest of the roster, the same. This is a world championship squad here, Hazer. What's been going wrong, but what do you expect from this team on the main stage?
I just think that they never quite got a handle on the meta throughout this year. It never felt like they could play the map the way they did last year. They never really figured out that great objective playstyle that they had last year that led them to a world championship. And as a result, their weak early game has been pretty hard exploited. It's always not been great, but previously they had the late game macro to make up for it, and it feels like they've kind of lost that touch. They seem to get it back a little bit towards the end of the qualifiers. Twig and Variety picked up their game and we're really playing about at the top of their game again, and we need to have them continue that. Those are the two that I feel like need to find consistency here, need to be able to match their opposite numbers in Panitom and Salt.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy us some caster's insurance here, just in case the Kings win. Let's speak some positivities, as you did, Hazer, but let's continue it about this Camelot Kings. Gore, if the Kings are able to find a win in our fourth quarterfinal of the day, what is going to go right for this team?
Well, yeah, the biggest thing, I think I have to agree with Hazer, right? You have to look at that right-hand side of the map, because that has been where a lot of the focus has been, both in wins and losses, right? If Variety and Twig are having a great game, that means the team's having a great game. And if you don't want to rely on them, you're looking in mid, and you are almost solely looking in mid. Jarcorrr can pop off, late game he's going to show up, he's a carry, he's going to do his thing, and he's going to look good doing it. But you know that you can rely on Tingz, and even in bad games, Tingz is going to be looking really good. So being able to pick up someone like him and just get him on a god that you know 25 minutes in. I mean, you know, we've been talking a lot about Thoth, we're talking a lot about Kukulkan. He's going to be liking the Vulcan, he liked the Raijin last week. Anything that he can deal damage on, it's going to be a good pick for the Kings. It's going to make them look better.
I want to latch on to what Hazer said, though. At the end of that qualifier, those group stages, the Kings, I saw them look a lot cleaner. And I remember a quote pretty vividly from Variety where he said, I wasn't the best mage solo player, and I'm not the best warrior solo player. That second part was a joke. He is one of the better warrior solo players out there. So seeing this confidence come through for Variety, I think is a big game changer, because remember, we've highlighted some of the faults of the Camelot Kings, and it has been, you know, Twig and Variety and trying to play off each other. When Variety is winning lane, this team looks better.
And like the thing that really stands out, I think because he said that, right?
Yep.
It's easy to forget, like these guys, you know, last year world champs, for a lot of them first time world champs.
Yep.
But then like you go before that and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you go watch like season 3 finals and like Variety's clowning on dudes and just running the show. And like, yes, he doesn't win that championship, but he looks great the entire time he's playing it. And you can do that in like 8 different years for various shots on these guys. So it's really, I think, impressive that, you know, coming here, I actually even said that we might get to see like a King's land buff, just because it feels like something about this environment unlocks something in all of their brains that will switch them forward. Yeah.
I think back to some of the winning moments last year for the Camelot Kings, and after those games, standing up and shrugging, wondering where their opponents are. Yark, fresh off winning World, says just another day in the office. If that Camelot Kings, that confidence shows up, we could be in for a set here, and I hope to see some of it. As we've mentioned, some history now between these two teams. Genetics and Twig won Worlds together last year. They're hoping to knock one another out of Worlds this year. Kelly happens to be standing by with both on the main stage.
Thank you so much, Dolson. Everyone joining me here right now, I have Genetics and CaptainTwig. Now, Genetics, this season, we obviously see you leave your former team, and now you are going up against them in the quarterfinals. What is that like?
It's a lose-lose for me, because I either beat them and I like them as people, or I lose and I get clowned on, so.
Well, we're going to see if you're going to get clowned on today. CaptainTwig, Mifflin was saying during the group stages that at one point your team was known to be one of the most calm and collected teams in SMITE, but that this season it seems to be you guys are a bit more emotional. Do you agree with that, and why do you think he feels that way?
I do partly agree with that. I think we've been 3-0'd a lot of the full split. I think maybe we care too much, so yeah, I think Mifflin's right.
All right, Mifflin. So, since moving to the Oni Warriors in this season, what has that experience been like for you?
You know, I've appreciated the work they put in. They put in a tremendous amount of effort to fit into a bit more of my style. You know, put in the individual skill with a bit of good shot calling, and hopefully it pays off.
And CaptainTwig, you've said yourself last year that the lack of pressure bringing into the jungle, you yourself have been a major factor in the lackluster performance that we've seen in the Kings this year. What have you done to make sure that that story changes today?
I think I've tried to take a step back. Maybe it's been a tiring year, but I've just focused on trying to have fun with the game, and I think with that comes composure.
Well, definitely feel some composure between you guys right now, but that might be ending because I have to ask one final question. Is there anything that you would like to say to Genetics?
Just good luck.
Genetics?
No regrets either way.
All right, boys, get to your seats, and everyone, let's head back to the desk.
It's like kind of deep and emotional. I was not expecting that between that interview. Clearly a lot of respect between those two players. They accomplished a lot with one another last year. Sometimes there's professional differences, and it's best for roster changes and those sorts of things to happen. A lose-lose in Genetics' mind. Hazer, the mental, though, going into this game, got to be in check for the Camelot Kings. And it's interesting to hear Twig talk about maybe wanting to reel it in a bit. We care too much. Take a deep breath. Let's see if we can just play some Smite and see what happens.
Yeah, I absolutely think we could see that in the gameplay as well. CaptainTwig sometimes, especially in that group stage LAN, tried to do too much for his team. He's like he's trying to overcome and make sure he can get in there and do too much for his team and ending up falling down. Easy for Genetics to say, no regrets either way before he plays, by the way. I'm interested to see if he still has no regrets if he loses this one.
What's the, I work too hard, I care too much, his greatest weakness? We'll move into picks and bans for game number 1 between the Oni Warriors and the Camelot Kings, begging for no more Osiris. Trelly, are we going to get some Osiris here in game 1?
I hope so, man. What are you talking about? Variety looks clean on the Osiris if that's the case. I know that Sot. All right, you're going to say Sot. Go ahead.
Yeah, well,
No,
because
all you.
it was what's his Scarabs run,
Eighth-
right? I mean,
eighth-
he
yeah,
was
season 8.
absolutely insane on Osiris.
Yeah.
If he's in the meta and Sot can get his hands on it, it's a treat. It's literally just different.
And to be clear, this is just better Osiris. Like, Sickle goes through waves now.
Yeah, he wasn't even great. Yeah, you're right. Oh my God, he wasn't even that good.
He was kind of mid
awesome.
that year. Yeah.
Speaking of mid, couple mids banned out as a Thoth, which we saw Shinto pilot to near perfection in our previous set. Not an option for BMT or Pegon. I want to talk about Pegon, his playstyle, his picks. A dynamic player, had a quadra kill during Worlds last year. Oni Warriors, Jarcorrr, an opportunity to get a playmaking style of pick in his hands.
Yeah, the thing that is insane to me is we've had this discussion. You know, Hachi, he gets banned, so there's going to be something to glance over there. But when we've been looking at like really top priority picks, there's been a really deep discussion about like, hey, this mid god or this warrior. It feels like in a lot of cases. I guess obviously Hachi has been up there. I'm gonna be honest, Hazer, Anhur, like I would say Anhur in the top 3 carries, like he's coming up in that conversation. As a first pick, he was not in that conversation for the last 8 months, maybe longer.
Do you want to, Hazer? I'll give you the option.
I'm not sure if I can get my leg up on this desk and get my sock out, but Anhur, you know what? What have we got? What have we got?
Might have to take the headset off.
Yeah! It's a long way up.
What is it? I can't see the.
They got seagulls on them.
Got it.
I've got flamingos. We have some bird socks going today.
Well, now you've got to do.
Jeez. Rama got picked, by the way, guys.
Yeah, there you
go.
I can't do it. I'll rip my pants if I try.
Oh, there we go. Hold up. They're there.
Yeah.
Stretch them out.
I got good news for you, bud. You're not on camera.
I
no,
know.
there you are. There you are.
Other
Here.
one. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Flamingos on the shoes.
Yep. Bingo. We both have some avian socks.
I was just up here praying for a glimpse of ankle from Trelly, and unlucky I didn't get it. Let's catch back up with picks and bans. So Nike, Ram, Gormizer for the Camelot Kings. Seems par for the course. Answered by the Oni Warriors. They're Anhur, they're Odin, they're Yemoja.
Yeah, no, it's something, again, I think is really exciting.
cold.
Hazer, I mean, first off, Nike has been, that's a great sign, has been at the top and very dominant.
Yeah, and speaking of birds, we've got the bird bomb meister himself, Odin, locked in top 3 for the Oni Warriors. Interesting pick here. Nike already has a leap. Ram has the ult to get out of the cage. So this must be something that the Oni Warriors and probably SoloOrTroll value outside of just trapping people in that cage. Is Odin more than just a cage bot now, Trelly?
I love the lane matchup into Nike specifically. If you're going to play just Warriors Axe versus Warriors Axe, Odin is one of the few characters that can actually match that range of Nike and sort of scrap in lane. With that, though, late game, there's always going to be that fall-off, right? I don't love the Odin post 30 minutes. I think Phantom Shell isn't even like a counter at that point. It's just, hey, you all auto it once, or like Rama can auto it even twice. Like, there's just so many ways to break the cage. The Oni Warriors are playing for early game, and if you have taken anything from how they like to play, they're trying to get active early.
And that's the thing. So this Odin pick, it's actually really funny because I was talking about it like an hour ago where the Warriors in that first phase this year where they are just absolutely dominating things. One of the most iconic games we had that phase was Sot bouncing around as the Glizzy Odin, like no worries in the world, as he just dominated everyone on the map. I mean, he left his lane pre-10 minutes because he was done with it. And so if you can get that kind of performance, that kind of early game, that's the skyrocket you need for the Warriors.
Odin Yemoja seems pretty solid of a front line to me, but what do I know? I'm a bit washed up here on the desk. Second wave of bans roll through. Wheelix, Thor. Oh, nice.
Yep, I got you.
I'm so good at those accidental ones because it's rarely on purpose if I'm funny. Hunbats and Raijin on the flip side of the bans.
Ooh. I don't even know what that means.
Well, you're clearly not looking within, Trelly. You
Deeper, I
gotta
guess.
do a little introspection. Now all 10 bans are locked in, Hazer. What do you feel like is left open? Was the Tiamat going to be what you were going to say?
I don't think so, no. I haven't loved Tiamat in the recent games, and one thing that I'd like to look at with the bans that we've seen is what is left for CaptainTwig. The Lancelot, the Hunbats, those are the gods that he's looked really strong on. We've seen him on the Maman. Outside of that, where is he going to go? We've seen Nemesis once, I think. Maybe we could see a Camazotz, but I'm not sure what's left in the pocket for CaptainTwig here on the Kings.
I mean, there's a lot of options to go to back in the day, but at this point, like, the Mercury's not going to have fun into Odin and Yemoja. He's not a Thor player. He said that himself. He's like, I will never go back to that Thor. He could just be lying, right? This is the world stage. This would be the time to pull out the accidental or the random Thor pick. But looking at the other side, I would not hate that Susano, man. It's a pick that has been very dominant throughout, every phase of SMITE, pretty much since Susano came out, and it's a pick that Panitom likes to go to a whole lot.
Double wall composition for the Oni Warriors. With that comes the question of what are you going to follow up on the double walls with? A Merlin, a fantastic option, Gormizer, for the Oni Warriors to start.
And again, giving me a lot of Phase 1 vibes from this squad. I mean, the Merlin, the Odin, admittedly maybe Anhur and Yemoja mixed between, but like those are things the Warriors were going for at the beginning of the year. And again, that Pegon made look really, really good. He's great for defense. He's good on offense, and the Warriors like to play their offense. But this is one of those I guess just gods that we have seen Hazer like as an absolute hit or miss. There have been Merlin games the last like 5 months that have made me wish they didn't exist.
Yeah, only one game of Merlin this tournament so far. Dardes looked pretty good on it, did a lot of damage. So maybe that god is back. I'm surprised to see him in the meta, but maybe just games going so late, the pressure is so high that late game mages do fantastic.
I'm remembering correctly that there is a Panitom Gilgamesh skin, right? That's why they chose that skin after their Worlds run.
Yep.
They go back to it, Trelly. The Oni Warriors do 4 Panitom. Fill me in, is that an expected pick? Is that a pocket pick? Where does he stand, and what does it provide to the Oni Warriors?
It's definitely a pick that Panitom himself has liked to go to even when everyone else isn't. Possibly because of, the storied run they had at Worlds with a god like Gilgamesh, but he was a lot better during that season, right? Gilgamesh has taken plenty of nerfs since then, so I think it's just a flavor, right? It's like, hey, this is going to be pressure early. I can get a lead. I can play very aggressive, which is exactly what the Oni Warriors want. You throw the Odin and the Yemoja in the mix, you have big circles to follow up on each other, and you can't really mess up Winds of Smosh.
The question is, for me, remember, for me, it's very simple. I see a lot of circles. I don't want to be in those circles. That is as far as my SMITE brain goes. And so, Hazer, I'll ask, do the Kings have the ability to get out of those circles, the walls, the entrapments that the Oni Warriors are going to be throwing down?
I mean, they picked a pretty safe comp, I think. Camazotz here, I think, is really, really good into everything the Oni Warriors have picked. The question is, can Twig play Camazotz at the level that he needs to play up against this Oni Warriors comp? The only one who's going to be in danger of getting trapped in and burnt down is going to be Quig on this Baron, but that is considered a good matchup into the Yemoja. You can pull the Yemoja back through her own walls with that life of the party and take her out of position and look to pick her off and punish when that Yemoja ult goes up.
Trelly, what are some keys to victory you want me to keep my eyes on as we go into game 1?
Well, I want you to look at junglers, of course. That first blue buff is going to be important, and last set, I just casted last set, there wasn't a lot of fighting at those blue buffs. Thank you, I really appreciate that. There wasn't a lot of fighting at those blue buffs. It was, hey, they got here, we got here, let's go. That's not the way Panitom and SOT like to play. I would not be surprised if we saw engages at those blue buffs, invades towards those blue buffs. So keep an eye on the Gilgamesh. If Panitom falls down early, could go a bit differently, but those blues are going to be where the action's at.
Ever since last weekend, when we knew this matchup was going to be on the schedule, I've been looking forward to it. Let's delay no further. Camelot Kings, Oni Warriors, game number 1, right now.
Thank you so much. Over on the desk, it's JMac and Inbound here to bring you maybe one of our most storied quarterfinal matchups that we could have asked for. Camelot Kings, Oni Warriors, the Kings coming back to defend their World Championship title and against one of the players that jumped ship from this team. Genetics jumping over to the Oni Warriors midway through the season. Some people all for that one. A lot of people, not so much. A big controversial roster change ended up happening for this Warriors team. You know, you go from an undefeated startup of the season. The only matchup that Warriors team had lost was that final matchup in that Masters tournament. They make that roster change, and it's not quite that same level of dominance, but it's been starting to ramp up. We get ready to jump into game number 1. It's the Oni Warriors, the Camelot Kings, the final quarterfinals matchup here in day 1 of the SWC.
And I think you're 100% right. I'm excited to see how this roster change has really happened with this Warriors comp. Are we going to see that same run it down type of style? Are we going to see a more genetics, patience, slow it down, let's wait till late game type of style? And that's just like, this is what the roster change was made for. This Worlds tournament right now, they thought they could make the change, improve in their late game for this type of tournament, and they're playing against a team that really wants to go late in this Kings. And as I look at this Kings comp, the first thing I'm looking at, the Camazotz. That is the thing that stands out to me. We've not seen Twig play it in a long time, if ever. And it's not really a god that fits his style. He's more of an engage, start fights off. You can't do that on Kama. You have to play slow.
See what CaptainTwig can do on the Camazotz. I think the one thing, and maybe the one treat I wasn't expecting, was to see Panitom go back to the Gilgamesh, the god that essentially got a skin in SMITE because of this player. The World Championship Leviathan's Gilgamesh is there because of this man right here for what he was able to do on this god.
Unfortunately, he's not rocking the skin, though.
Yeah,
it's a little sad.
I think he's throwing a little bit if you're asking me, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, the Crimson King, good enough. I mean, we'll see if it pays off. Maybe he'll be regretting it later when we get to that. But, yeah, the Gilgamesh, it's an exciting god to watch. And it's kind of a different style. I think it's changed and evolved through its years. Used to you go Boom Buzz, you go for that auto attack canceling ability build, Boom Buzz, stuff like that. That's the build he's going back to, but it's not a build we've seen in a long time. And it'll be interesting to see how much defense is he building. Is he going to build more of a one-shot, something like that? So I think I'm keeping an eye on his build. And then also, Camazotz.
Well, Panitom, got to be careful to walk too close to the bat and BMT. Even though it is a Tiamat, still can do a decent bit of damage even this early in the game. But I think you're right to say, keeping an eye on how Panitom likes to go with his build, because this is a god, again, we haven't seen, it feels like almost a year, maybe longer, since we've really seen this god when the auto attack warriors got pushed out of the jungle. Other ones, you know, like the Osiris's, those kind of gods, they kind of pop back up for a little while. This god was absent for such a long time.
Yeah, I mean, Osiris, you're guaranteed at least one game from Susano every month or two. Erlang, maybe a game or two from someone else. Gilgamesh, not at all. And I think that's what's exciting about him, the playmaking potential from this god. And I think when we get to that more middle game portion, that level 5, that's when that playmaking potential really happens, because this will be a more farm it up type of style for both of these comps. They want to wait for that 5. The Baron Samedi, the Kama, most of these characters spike at 5. Anhur's the only one that really sticks out where maybe we see something pre-5. And when we talk about Yemoja, Genetics is one of the first Yemojas that comes to mind. He plays this god so phenomenally and so aggressively, and it's in a counter matchup with this Baron. So it'll be really interesting to see how the Baron-Yemoja matchup kind of pairs off with each other. Usually, when Yemoja was first picked, and when she was picked early, Baron was the god in response. But picking Baron into Yemoja and Odin, is he going to be able to survive the cages, as they talked about on Desk? Phantom Shell, what's he going to go for that second relic?
And I think it's an important point to bring up is the double cage. Usually we see one answered for another. They got Yemoja, we got Odin. In this case, you put them on the exact same team, and it really puts an immense amount of threat on the potential of, as you know, kind of highlighted by the Desk, that Phantom Shell. Do we even see one picked up by the Camelot Kings? As of now, the answer to that is no. Quig gonna go for the meditation that first slot. But it would not surprise me with the threat those two gods have. If we see it, CaptainTwig could have been on fire, but Oni Warriors, they'll go ahead and let this one go just for now.
And that's a good play by Twig there. That's not a fight that you really win. These Warriors base damage in the early game, it's very hard to fight against. Trade the blue buffs. You don't need to win this early game. That's not how the Kings have made their living. That's not how they win these games. They want to play for that later portion. Anything to avoid those early fights, those early 50-50s, I like. I am really excited to see, is Twig going to go for a more defensive style? Because usually when we see Twig on these gods, these hyper carries, he'll fit a defense item in somewhere, whether it's mantle, maybe a spectral, breastplate, something like that. So I'm curious to see after this Jotuns, where will he go?
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of diversity with the Hunter build so far. You know, we saw Panda Cat bring out the Uller. That usually builds a lot different than your most standard Hunters. We've seen some double crit. We've seen no crit. It's kind of just been ever-changing, really, depending on how these team comps go. So I think keeping eyes on Netrioid and Jarcorr's build throughout the game probably maybe gives a determination on how Twig goes.
And I think that's a good point. Hunter builds are very important right now. Usually, I think crit dominates the meta currently. Crit is so broken. Deathbringer is just absolutely broken. We might have to have a talk with the devs back about that. But when it gets down to those late game, those Hunters really do win games by themselves with the crit build. And I think we see a Pen-style build. We'll have to talk about objectives. Can they burn them? How will fights happen if they don't have that one-shot potential on these diving junglers? And that's always the interesting thing with these builds is, how are these ADCs going to build?
Right now, the way that both supports are building, Prophetic Cloak after that War Flag. Is this kind of just becoming like that staple? Like if you don't go Gauntlet of Thieves, you go Prophetic? Or is there a world you see, you know, some of the supports go towards both of those items?
We saw Aurora do both of them. I'm not in love with the build. I think it slows it down just a little bit too much. I'd rather opt for either cooldown or survivability or maybe anti-heal, something like that. Especially in a game like this. Kama's got a lot of healing. Baron's got a lot of healing. Yemoja's got a lot of healing. Eventually, if it goes late, lifesteal. I think we're gonna have to pay attention to anti-heal in this game a lot. Maybe something like Contagion on Quig after this prophetic. Same with the Yemoja, maybe a Contagion. Stacks that cloak up a little bit faster. Because when you get CC'd, you get that Contagion proc onto the enemy. It gives you a free stack. It's literally the freest stack in the game. So something like that I think would be really good for both of these supports.
You just see how hungry Panitom is for a fight right now. Maybe Sot can bring some of that action for his team. CaptainTwig jumps over the blue buff wall, gets stunned out by Sot. Now Panitom will jump right in. The drop kick against the wall will force out the bat out of hell. But can Variety even bail CaptainTwig out? He's able to get to the tier 1 tower. And rotation from BMT at least guarantees the safety of the jungler for the Camelot Kings. But now Sot jumps into the tower. Screech hits. Variety throws out his own ultimate. Can Variety get enough damage to take down Sot? He's waiting for the stun to go through.
Wait,
It does land, but Panitom is on the way. He's still got the wins if need be.
Just for totem.
We'll hold on to now. The totem, much more important than anything else.
And a close fight over in solo side. And that's like the strength of this Camazotz. We see it a lot. It's a very good 1v1 character, and just the survivability of it. The jump, the ultimate, the healing, all these are just very powerful in anything. And when they're getting gone on, when you're looking to chase. And I think that's why we see Twig kind of go towards this. We saw like 7 assassin/jungle bans. Twig had to dig deep to find this Camazotz, and if he can show that he can play this Camazotz, it'll spell out a whole different P's and B's for the rest of the tournament.
And that's really kind of been the MO of a lot of teams against the Camelot Kings recently, has been just ban CaptainTwig, and then we've solved the problem, no big deal. And it's kind of forced the rest of the team to step up just a little bit more. Jarcorr's having to find some extra comfort picks. BMT is trying to figure out where he can slot in. It really has kind of made this Kings team transition a bit more to straying away from, we need CaptainTwig to help us out, and now is kind of pushed to the rest of the map, able to really allow Twig to dig so deep into his pool.
Yeah, and Twig has a really good opportunity here. Twig, Big Man, Quig all together. If they look for a play onto Pegon right now, no beads available into this Baron. It's risky. It's very risky. But if there's no Baron that rotates towards mid, doesn't look for Pegon, allows him to just kind of farm up for that level 12, this is going to be a good play by Pegon. But if for some reason Pegon has to go into the jungle, Baron is around there, they have very easy kill potential onto him.
Twig leaps away. 2 people inside of his jungle right around that Fury Pit. I think it's a good point to bring up. We've been seeing a few mid laners do this, where if they don't think that there's enough CC to threaten them, we just see Aegis. Might need an Aegis for Panitom. A lot of his health gone. Winter Samash dropped down.
They both missed.
Players jumped out of the pit, but have missed everything. And now it's Pegon. First blood, but CaptainTwig takes him down. Panitom falls for first blood, but BMT might be the next one up. The stun, not gonna be there. The bubble is good. The stun lands, and Genetics grabs another one, but CaptainTwig's in a worse spot. Able to get the heal. Bat out of hell available. And they got in the double kill for CaptainTwig, but it'll fall down to the damage of Netrioid and Sot.
And this is what Solo loves to do. He loves to rotate early. He's got this early breastplate. It allows him to clear, rotate, and we saw kind of what's going to be happening in these fights. A lot of time, the Camazotz and Panitom are going to be starting these fights up. Unfortunately for Panitom, he gets a little bit too far forward. He gets not able to jump away into safety. Pegon is able to clean up the kill. That's a good positioning by Pegon and good rotation from both side lanes. I think it'll be very curious to see how Variety kind of deals with Solo. Variety's not a solo laner who likes to rotate, so it's going to be interesting. Is he going to follow Solo around, kind of chase him around, or is he going to play mostly for his own farm?
This has been a lot of Variety. He's going to sit back, wait till like maybe 15 to 20 before he rotates out. Has upgraded the teleport all the way, which leads me to believe we might be seeing some early objective play out of the Camelot Kings. But when you talk about early objective play, there's no real secure on either side. It's a lot of shred, at least on the Oni Warriors end. So let's see if the Camelot Kings can find some kind of way to answer back to that.
And even outside of that, I just like the TP upgrade to be able to match Solo. Solo's an aggressive rotator, not just TPer. He will just walk over if he thinks he can expect a fight. So I like that Variety's investing this early 800 gold, allow him to teleport towards wards and have this lower cooldown teleport. And something that caught my eye, Panitom going for that early defense. He is going for that tier 2, whether Phalanx, Glad Shield, whatever it is. It shows me that it's going to be a little bit more hybrid. Panitom wants to get in, start the fights. But I think it worries me a little bit when we go to that middle late game portion. Is there going to be enough damage with this Oni Warriors comp? Are they going to be able to kill this Tiamat, who's very tanky, this Rama, who's very safe?
And I'm actually wondering, if that was Panitom's quest item from his passive, if he happened to get a round shield and said, okay, I can work with this, or if this is just natural part of the build, maybe he's already gotten rid of the tier 1, maybe he hasn't even picked it up just yet, to be determined, still has another option available, but it does seem to be more towards at least initial damage, and now have a little bit of that utility, that defense to stay inside of these team fights. You see CaptainTwig rotate over to this right-hand side, but it's just that cooldown cam. This really has kind of been CaptainTwig's home for the majority of this phase of this year, has been over on this side, keep variety up. But when you rotate too many people to the other side,
they're looking for a pick.
Oni Warriors going for a bait at the gold. Fury jump in. Quig might be the target. It's an ultimate in from Genetics to lock 2
They're using a lot.
inside. Quig has been pulled back, and Panitom takes him down. The Riptide misses Jarcorrr, and BMT is forced to jump away. All the leaps down now on the side of the Camelot Kings. But the Oni Warriors will go for the catch and go. They'll let that one out and go back to the gold Fury, but it could just be another bait.
And they're looking to pull it. It's down to about half. Solo zoning a little bit, looking for the 50-50. Cages up. Oni Warriors secure it. And that's a good rotation right there by SoloOrTroll. He's getting here early to these fights, and Variety's nowhere to be seen. He's not here.
And look at the nearest teleport spot that Variety has. It's a tower at this point. Meanwhile, you look at the Oni Warriors, they've got wards on the top end of this Gold Fury the whole time, so there's just no way Variety could match that if he had the opportunity to. But teleport was still down going into that fight, and now, because of these team fights and because of that Gold Fury, the Oni Warriors have pulled ahead to the tune of about 2,500 gold.
And when you get to this more middle portion of the game, eyes on the support relics. I think that's something that really sticks out to me. What are we going to see? Is Quig going to go for that Phantom Shell? Is Quig going to go for maybe potential here?
Twig chasing down
Feeds are
Pegon.
available. He should be fine.
Feeds there, Aegis available, and also a Yemoja nearby should be safe.
Plenty of safety there, but the support relics, also on the Yemoja, what are we going to see from this Yemoja? We see a lot of shells, maybe potential for Bracer for those objectives, because as you said, good burn on the side of the Warriors, not great secure though. So maybe if they have even more burn, it doesn't really allow for as much of a need for that secure because they can just burn those objectives so much faster.
It's going to make these Pyromancers so important for both these teams because no immediate burst damage. You know, maybe an Ice Bolt for 300-400, you know, maybe a stun from Tiamat for a few hundred, but that 1,000 damage isn't going to be matched by anything else in this lobby. So we'll have to see really where these teams start to group up, how important a priority that Pyromancer becomes.
And with this beacon up, this is something that we sometimes see the Warriors like to fight over. Unfortunately, nobody there for the Warriors. It's just free for them. But a lot of times, Solo likes to go to those. So it's interesting to see Solo not opt to rotate.
Netrioid confident in a potential 2v1. Genetics was on the way. I'll make sure he gets a little bit of extra healing his direction. And even Panitom lurking inside the jungle. Camp stolen away by CaptainTwig. A nice Screech steals that from Panitom. So XP denied over to the Gilgamesh. And still building in to more defense. Now in that Kasari tree.
And I like this type of build from Panitom. I like when Gilgamesh builds this more harass style. Because if you start to snowball, it's impossible to deal with him. This is the Gilgamesh that kind of won the Levi's, that won tournament, that won Worlds from some time back, just Worlds, Season 8. They dominated with it, and it was because of this early prio on this Gilgamesh. And he's already level 13. If he gets just a little bit more farm, allowed to dive that Tiamat and to dive that Baron, there's no threat onto him. And it also just makes Solo's job easier, which makes Genetics' job easier. And that's what happens when you build these hybrid junglers. Yes, they can't one-shot, but they make everybody else's job around them that much easier.
Gives you that additional front line that feels like for a lot of teams fits really well. There's some teams where having that third tank doesn't entirely make sense, whether it be composition or players. Panitom needs a little bit of help more than anything because he's surrounded by 3. Coffin to pull him back. Use the bees, but he didn't actually get grabbed by the Coffin, but he's just far enough to want to get yanked back in. CaptainTwig does not land the bats this time. What looked like a potential misplay by Panitom is just enough to get him out.
And that's one of those interesting, between Gilgamesh and the Baron, interesting things that happen with Gilgamesh too. I don't know why it took me so long to describe that, but when you kick, you get this slight delay where you don't get sucked back and you kind of fling yourself forward. So if you don't have beads, you don't have jump, you still have that kick to kind of give you that little extra momentum to get away from the pull. Little interesting kind of thing we can pay attention to where Panitom is a little extra safety on top of the beads and the 3. And with that, they're pulling this Pyro.
Pyro started up, 40% down, BMT on the way, but it's a jump in by Assad, and it's gonna be a reverse rebuke by Genetics. Guarantees the Pyromancer for the Oni Warriors. Now a 3,000 gold lead up. Not much action has been happening except around these objectives.
And the Camelot Kings have 2 kills, both on Twig. And that's what I'd want to see these kills on. On this Camazotz, you have to get ahead. But he's not really done too much since that early game. They had that play onto Panitom potentially there. Panitom plays it a little bit too well and escapes, but I want to see a little bit more aggression out of Twig. This Camazotz is a god that dominates around this point. Yes, he scales, but why not play to your strengths even right now?
I really haven't seen Twig go attack anybody aside from Pegon that one time over by Green Buff, and since then, it's been so quiet from CaptainTwig. You know, we had a great start to the early, go for this big 2v2, 3v3 over in mid, comes out with a double kill. But after that, it just feels like CaptainTwig has gone into farm mode.
Yeah, and to kind of pair together, because I think when you talk about the Kings, you talk about both Twig and Variety. So far, this is probably one of the best games we've seen from them. No deaths, farming up. They're getting to a point where they're basically even with the opposite side. And usually this is the weakness of the Kings. Losing that early game, they're not losing it. Maybe this is the comfortable spot that they find themselves in. So when they go late, they have that even team fight, and they can actually take that 5v5.
It almost became a meme how much we talked about it.
Definitely became a meme.
You talk like Season 8, Season 9 Kings, and it's just like, man, you guys are kind of just the macro farmers. And you get out and hear interviews like, yeah, we're sorry to the fans that, you know, it plays like this, but like, that's just what we're good at, and we do it better than anyone. And they did, and that's what netted them a world championship. But haven't really seen that same level quite yet. But unfortunately for the Kings, this has just been a position that they've just been used to for the last almost 2.5 years of play.
But I will say, you can never count out the Kings when it goes late. It doesn't matter. You'll see them win team fights down 10K even this season. So to see them at a point, 16 minutes, only down 3K, maybe getting busy and left.
Beads down from Jarcorrr. CaptainTwig trying to zone, but Panitom
solo
kicks
again.
Quig against the wall. And with Sot already here and a teleport now from Variety, we got the full squad on the left side of the map. Oni Fury is up, but it might require a couple of picks from one team to try and pull the objective.
And with Phantom Shell available here for Quig, they can't really just look for the bait on that.
Coffin by Quig, it's pulling in SOT, but SOT jumps over it, and nobody's gonna get stunned out. Genetics is zoning the team fight away as Pegon is just melting through the health bars of CaptainTwig, and now Netrioid goes down to Variety. Bat out of hell, still there though for CaptainTwig. He's able to swoop out of danger, but Variety is falling low, needs to bail out. The Kings have the man advantage, but it's the Oni Warriors with the health bars.
And Twig is diving phenomenally right now. Him and Variety are playing so well off of each other. This is the Season 9 Kings that I imagine. Variety goes in first. He baits out abilities, and Twig is there to clean him up. This is the type of Kings that is scary.
Now it's a fight over the beacon. 2 of the Kings nearby, but Sot's not going to give up this ground. He does plenty of damage, especially when he's tailed by Genetics, and even Pegon standing around the wall. It's going to be a long battle around this beacon. Unless the Camelot Kings just say they'll go ahead and give it up. Not worth risking too much over this beacon. Not as valuable as it once was.
And as we're hitting this 18-minute mark, my eyes are on these support builds. Both of them going for stacking builds, but neither of them have finished either of their stacking items. Both of them pretty close, but they are very, very squishy right now. With the amount of damage both sides have in mid, in ADC, in jungle, I would not be surprised if they start looking for these picks on these frontliners. There's a lot of CC there. One CC catches them out. There's no beads. There's a little bit of immunity on the side of Quig, but not true beads potential.
Sot getting pulled back in by the Coffin under tower, but he's fine. He's got a cage to bail himself out, and a Riptide, but Variety's gonna try and push him back to the enemy team. Not gonna get him quite far enough. An aggressive play by the solo of the Oni Warriors, but not gonna be enough to net anything. You even look at the relics of who he was trying to go for. Eggs and Beads are still down on BMT. He was just going there to push them out and set up now for this Oni Fury. The Warriors are just going to get this one for free unless there's a big snipe out from the Camelot Kings, but Jarc not able to get the distance, can't get the shot. It's Oni Fury to the Warriors.
And again, you see Solo rotating over, getting that poke onto Big Man. Big Man's got a reset. He can't stay out half health. Yes, they're getting a trade here. They're getting this pyro, but the Oni wave potential here allows for maybe a wave somewhere.
We talked about it earlier, though. This Pyromancer could be the most valuable objective for either of these teams, so now splitting it to where you can now officially 50-50 the Fire Giant up against the enemy team might make it a little bit nicer for the Camelot Kings to try and walk up. At 19 minutes in, 3-3, 2,500 gold and XP separating these two teams. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we're at an even game at this stage.
Yeah, and this is, Kings don't mind 2K. They're worried when it's 7, 8, 9K, but 2K they can handle at 20 minutes. And something we talked about early in the game, what are the ADCs going to be building? So far we have Crit, tier 2 on the side of Netrioid, and it seems like a pen build for the Kings. And we talked about, there's not a ton of burn potential on the side of the King, so maybe some objective worry there. They may have to look for more fighting potential around these objectives. The Warriors, though, they don't have to worry about that. They have the burn, they just don't have the secure.
CaptainTwig getting thrown around with the Riptides. Sod has spotted him out as the Camelot Kings retreat back to the Tier 1 tower. It's just Variety by himself. He's got ultimate. That Sentinel of Zeus will give him a lot of extra HP to survive, but you never want to have to use that in a situation like this, especially when you're just meandering about the jungle.
And setting up for this Tier 1 tower, this is when you want to start pushing your lead.
Jump in by Panitom.
Free. It's free.
All of us. Just scare the Camelot Kings back. Variety still holding on to his leap, able to escape from the Warriors. But with no objectives up right now, the Oni Warriors, they're just prodding and poking for any small bit of gold that they can get.
And this is what I like seeing from the Warriors. They're grouping to just slowly push their lead. They're not winning these massive fights that are getting these massive gold leads. They're just grouping Gold Furies here, Gold Fury here, Tier 1 here, Tier 1 here. They're getting a bunch of gold across the map, and they're going to hit their spikes a little bit quicker, and I want to see them play off those spikes. We have Merlin, 4 full items. He is so strong in this fire.
Jarcorrr is not here at all for the Camelot Kings. He's all the way in the left jungle. Instead, it's SOT.
Cage.
Finds Quig and BigManTingz. Quig's going to go for the coffin. It's going to stop by SOT. Quig kicked against the wall and batted down by the Oni Warriors. That's 1 pick now for the Order side team. Variety just going to try and sweep himself away. Get out of the danger of the Oni Warriors, who can go right back to fire.
And this is why I don't like this Baron build. He's just too squishy. They blew him up in no time. Fire's down to half, though. 5 here versus 4.
Whoa, CaptainTwig blinks to the back line. Can he get anything done? Bat out of hell used. It's just to try and zone the carry out. The objective damage isn't quite there just yet. The Fire Giant not confirmed by either team. There's still 2 Runic Bombs in play, and the Fire Giant will go to the Camelot Kings. They steal it away, but can they get out of the fight? BigManTingz, no relics left, jumps away as far as he can, but it's not far enough. Pegon knocks him down. The Camelot Kings running as far and as fast as they can.
And that's perfect. You do not need to live everyone with this Fire Giant. Just getting it away slows down this game. We're talking level 18, level 19 for most of these players on the King side. They just want to hit that 20. That's all they want.
Now, the Oni Warriors, upset with their Fire Giant taken away from them, start taking away these towers. Tier 1 removed on the right-hand side. That's as far as they're going to go for now. So go back, spend up some of that golden hand. Nearly everybody sitting on 1,500 with 20s on the way. We're starting to get close to those starter item upgrades.
And quickly, I want to go back to that Fire Giant. Now I want to talk about Quig's build. He is just too squishy at this point. He cannot frontline. They need Variety standing at the front of this fight. If it's Quig, that's what's going to happen. It does not matter about the Phantom. It does not matter about the ultimate. He will just get burned. From now on, if there's an objective, if somebody needs to frontline, it's got to be Variety.
It's kind of crazy that we're 22 minutes in. This is the first level 20 we've been hitting. Considering how much they're in this season, mids are hitting 20 by like 18, 19. Carries are right behind them. And you see these soul laners and junglers start to close the gap. But it is Pegon first on the 20 board. The Primal started, and Jarcorrr in a bad spot. He rolls to the side of the cage. Maybe being in the air can buy him a bit of time, but he's going to land right down into the River's Rebuke. Nowhere left for Jarc to go. He's used everything he's got to escape, and none of it is enough. CaptainTwig, can he get anything up against the backline? Netrioid fires off the ultimate towards Quig. Everybody's falling low. The Winds of Shamash trying to lock them in place, and it's just Sot, the one-man army, zoning the entire team. The Kings. Variety's gone back in. Pops the Sentinel of Zeus. He's got a lot of HP. But that's not going to stop the Oni Warriors. Genetics takes down the enemy support.
And just like that, all they're looking is for this little bait. Jarcorrr just gets kicked into the wall, and he doesn't have anything to kind of keep himself alive. And this is that problem with this Baron. It's just not doing what it's meant to do. It's supposed to be this counter to Yemoja. You're supposed to kill Yemoja. Yemoja's 2-0-5. She has not died. She is running this game when it comes to the team fights. This Baron, it's got to be like more of a reset. It's got to be more of a let's play back. Let's bait them into us. You can't keep walking forward into the jaws of the Oni Warriors.
When I talk about the fear of God, no, it's the fear of Sot. He walks up to 3 low health bar targets at Pyramid, so they all bail out immediately from him. And with all reason, too. 1-0-4, not quite the unkillable style of build he had coined earlier on in the year, but it feels damn near close to it at this point.
I'd argue it's more deadly because he's not 20 yet. That other build was a level 20 spike. Like, we cannot kill this guy. He's going to be flopping around. He's the Glizzy. He's still the Glizzy, but he's not going to be flopping around unkillable. He'll just do a whole load of damage, so you kind of got to give him that space.
Pyromancer now started by the Oni Warriors, half HP. The Kings have some steal opportunity. Will they even be able to get a chance to use it? No, they won't. SoloOrTroll zoning out BigManTingz to not allow that mage to be able to steal anything away. New runic bomb in pocket for the Oni Warriors.
As we're hitting this later game portion of it, we got the Fire Giant on the side of the Kings. This is the point where we're starting to hit those 20s. We're got to see what these starters start to look like. We have alternates on both sides of the mages. Something interesting to me, though, Big Man's got that Soul Reaver. He doesn't have, I mean, he has Chronos Pendant. He doesn't have Soul Reaver yet. So that front life killing potential, it's not there. This Odin is darn near unkillable. The Yemoja is very hard to deal with. I don't know how they're really going to take them down.
We've been seeing a lot of this kind of battle, you know, you go Book of Thoth, you go Chronos Pendant. Every time we see this Chronos Pendant, it really sacrifices a lot of that early kill potential for that extra bit of CR. Get all those rotations out there to spam more abilities, but we haven't seen quite the success of it just yet. We'll have to see how that Chronos Pendant can actually pan out for BMT. I mean, you've got a decent bit of damage already, at least a bit of pen online with that Book of Thoth, with that Divine, and now getting the Ob Shard. So now you've got some kill potential for BMT. But as you say, without that Soul Reaver, you're missing that real extra punch.
And I think that's like the big thing. Ob Shard gives you really good pen to kill the, shred to kill those frontliners. But Reaver's that little extra oomph that really threatens the frontliners. There's not a ton of threat onto Solo right now. There's not a ton of threat onto Genetics. Yes, if they consistently over-position themselves, yes, they can be taken down. But as we've seen, that's not been an issue. And we've seen Solo maybe play a little too far forward, and he's just not getting punished. And if we go to this later portion, I do want to see Solo kind of clean that up a little bit. If that Reaver is finished, if we do get that 6th item on Jarcorrr, I think Solo needs to be a little bit more calculated with what he does, but for now, he's cooking.
Now the Titans marching down left side. We already see the Oni Warriors fully grouped up and ready to knock this one down. Meanwhile, the Camelot Kings gonna play a bit more passive, sit a little bit further back and wait for the Oni Warriors to step up to them at their tier 2.
And with how strong the Oni Warriors are, yes, no Fire Giant, but there's no Fire Giant on the King side either. I want to see them siege this tier 2. We've got Titan, we've got the Boomba's Hammer finished, we've got the War Banner. So many starters on the side of the Warriors. They're spiking and the Kings are not.
Zot's gonna get rooted. Heal to the way the Camelot Kings, but now the Titans inside of the tower, starting to swing away at it. Keep your eyes on Twig. He's trying to go for a flank around the back, but he misses the bats onto Netrioid. Only lands that screech damage, and that's not enough poke to really put a threat on this Anhur. So it will be a tier 2 tower going to the Oni Warriors, and they might not stop there. It looks like they're already heading over to the mid lane instead.
And it looks like they maybe trying to catch out Twig here, because Twig's trying to drop that red. Panitom just trying to get some deep vision, and I think this is a good thing getting ready for this Fire Giant. Trying to find that pick. We've already seen one Fire Giant get pulled and get stolen. It didn't matter 5v4. That's just how bad the secure is on both of these teams. And I think that's something we have to keep an eye on as we get to this next fire.
Leap is already down from Panitom. Can he get it back in time? He uses the beads, trying to get away.
Shamash
has been pulled back into the curtain, but instead it's now Panitom jumping away. The River's Rebuke as a bailout, but can Variety get enough damage? Can the snipes from Yark land in time to take him down? It's not quite enough. Panitom is still alive. He's able to jump away. The Warriors bail him out. Variety doing everything in his power to kill him, but he just can't. Instead, it's Net and Sot who lose out on the 2v2. CaptainTwig chasing him down. SOT has already used his leap, and Quig is waiting for the wrap up. He lands it. The heal, the gaze is right behind, but the heal is a bit too late, and Sot is able to walk out.
And they're just trying to bully him out at this point. Variety's job right now is to play linebacker. Don't let him in. There's very little secure here, but there's a bomb this side on the Yemoja.
And it's on Genetics, and he's the only one who's at the pit right now. He can walk in and try and take this one.
They gotta fight.
Have either got to kill Genetics or destroy the bomb. They're going to go for the kill on Genetics. The Fire Giant hasn't been reset, though. The Camelot Kings will confirm the objective. Genetics is low, but so are the Camelot Kings. BMT has used every resource in his arsenal. Quig is all by himself. Leave him be, Camelot Kings. Let him go down because the Oni Warriors are keeping up the chase. The fire is around 4, but the Warriors can't go too much further unless Variety sends SOT to the back line.
And the Warriors just a little bit too low. They can't chase out anymore. Net just coming alive right now, but the Kings got everything they needed. Fire on 4. The one person you do not mind Fire Giant to be on is for Quig. Quig's fine. Leave him be. It does not matter to lose one person for Fire Giant. And the Kings, they got everything they needed. They zoned the Yemoja perfectly. That is something we talked about. There's not great secure on either of these sides. If there's a bomb in hand, keep an eye on that. Play the killer. They maybe juggled Fire Giant a little weird, but in the end, it worked out. They got the Fire Giant.
Kept Genetics out. Everybody dove on. They kept one person on fire. So you deal with this. We'll make sure this guy doesn't get to walk in. The furthest that Genetics got was right at that ring of fire, and that's the farthest you need, especially given that his ultimate was down. His only real secure, if he couldn't get in, was what, like 100 damage from a bubble or a moonblast maybe. Camelot Kings get a Pyromancer. CaptainTwig, he's got a full inventory. He can't pick up the Runic Bomb, so it's just going to sit until somebody else can come grab it. And that one will be Variety to make sure they hold on to it.
Superman Variety grabbing that bomb, and that's something they're going to need for these sieges. And we've seen it a little bit so far this tournament where teams are they're comfortable going with 5, and it's not really worked out. I want to see the Kings split. You've got one of the best 1v1 junglers in the game at your disposal. Have him split the side of the map, make Panitom match him. Because what does this Warrior comp do better than this Kings comp? It's a very simple 5v5. Big ability here, big ability here, big ability here. I'm a little worried about this 5v5 siege though for the Kings, but it looks like they're just going for that tier 2. Please, please Kings, split. Have Twig take that 1v1.
Slow play. You've got time with the Fire Giant, tier 2. It's a good start. Still got a few more towers. Unlikely that we see the Phoenix go down unless 1, maybe 2 extra picks happens against the Oni Warriors here. So I like the slower start up here by the Camelot Kings, especially to go back and start finishing up some of those power spikes. You talk about BMT needing that Soul Reaver, finally online for him.
And that's not the only thing sticking out to me. We also have Variety getting this erosion. We saw him diving that fight in mid. Genetics was healing and shielding so much. Panitom ends up living that fight. And now that erosion is done, a little bit more chase-out potential. I think something a little underrated with the erosion, if we could actually take a look at it, is the movement speed you get when their shielding is around you. So that's something that we can kind of see. And he's also going to be reducing that shielding, which is something very interesting, I think.
Yeah, especially against a god that's just going to keep throwing shield after shield, heal after heal, reducing at least a portion of that factor. So important for Variety for the Camelot Kings. Tier 1 tower and left gone, tier 2 in mid, gonna meet the same fate, and now only stands 1 remaining permanent structure for the Oni Warriors. The Camelot Kings have been fighting from behind nearly this entire game. Even if it's only been 2,000 to 3,000, I've been saying it, it's a comfortable spot for the Camelot Kings. They don't mind going down that small amount of gold because they have that much confidence in their team fight.
I'd say this is more than comfortable for the Kings. Being even at any points is like the perfect spot for the Kings to be in. As we go to these late games, Kings have never had a problem team fighting. They've never had a problem with it. They're always going to be very competitive when it comes to team fights. But now it comes down to EFG is going to be that next kind of fight. We've seen now both sides having an advantage. Kings, when they have the advantage, they look to take the fight. Warriors have the advantage. They do get that pick, but again, it comes back to that secure. Securing is going to be the name of the game as we get to EFG. We have 1 bomb on the Nike. We have 1 bomb on the Yemoja. Outside of that, it's kind of a coin flip of who's going to be able to get it. I would say we talk about secure and burst. Tiamat's got probably the best burst on the map. That's not saying much, but I do think it does edge out kind of just about anything else.
Now we still have around a minute before this Fire Giant comes back up. This time enhanced now, so much more important for both of these teams. And with that Runic Bomb, 1 on each side, Pyromancer still down for almost the exact same amount of time until Fire is back up. Means that neither team can really get that immediate advantage. For both these teams would love the ability to drop 2,000 damage on the field as opposed to only having to fight the even 1-to-1.
Yeah, and as we're getting to this, Fire Giant's about to be spawning. The most important thing for both teams, because of the flank potential, is the ward vision. Keep an eye on the wards around the Fire Giant pit. Who's going to be having the flank warded? Because both sides, Camazotz, really good flank potential, nearly one-shot potential, can 100% pull relics, and then Panitom has this playmaking potential right now. My only downside to Panitom is he's still only 5 items deep. He is not that strong, especially when you compare him to Twig. So I almost want to see the Kings kind of force something here. Look to play up, get some picks, or some poke.
Panitom a bit tankier than CaptainTwig, just by nature of his defense. Goes back and finishes that build
now
with
he's
a
strong.
Full Mantle of Discord, so now 6-slot triple defense in the build. But still not going to hit quite as hard as CaptainTwig, but should be able to maybe more effectively take these 1v1s.
And speaking of damage, Deathbringer finished on Netrioid now. This is the spike that Netrioid's been playing for, and actually flicker in.
Jump in by SOT, the River's Rebuke doesn't catch anybody out, but it's a Phantom Shell now down from Quig. Won't have it for the next fight. The next fight won't even matter because there's going to be another cage ready. This time it's Sot who's going to have his on that cooldown. So having that relic removed from Quig is going to make it so much more difficult in this next fight.
And look at how fast they burn that Pyromancer. Fire's not going to be dropping much slower than that. So if you give him too much space, especially Quig down to half health, Phantom Shell not up for 50. He did opt for the Relic Dagger, so it'll be up 40 seconds faster than you'd expect it, but still, a little bit of an opportunity here for the Warriors. And if you look for it, 2 opportunities to kill Twig. You have Yemoja's ult, you have Odin ult. Phantom Shell can only stop one of them. 40 seconds on it. It doesn't have to be now, but it does have to be, you know, kind of bait out that shell first and then look to punish after.
Try and get some of these ultimates on either side. So far, it's only Genetics utilizing his. The Tiamat jumps back and forth between what they want to go with, but it's Oni Warriors who pull the enhanced Fire Giant. CaptainTwig standing in the pit. Makes the call to his team, says, guys, they're pulling this. I don't think they're committed to it, but the Oni Warriors will go back on it once more. Sot jumps over to try and zone Twig and Jarcorrr out. SOT taking a lot of damage, pulled back by the coffin. The cage is down to try and bail himself out. The Fire Giant has not been reset. It's a 7th man in this fight for everybody. Twig is low. The snipes from Jarcorrr are already down. They can't go for an extra kill. Meanwhile, CaptainTwig can just heal back on these buff camps.
And it looks like just a little bit of trading so far, but if you look at the healing, Yemoja's going to be out healing anyone else on the map, so that victory's on the side of the Warriors, and you'll happily see them pull, reset. They have this Yemoja advantage. They're going to use it. This is one of the things that Genetics is best at.
Oni Warriors back to the fire once more.
Quig's in base.
Variety's already lost a quarter of his health, and Yark and BMT are so far away. CaptainTwig hasn't been able to resustain just yet, but neither has Panitom. Benefit for Twig, he's going to naturally heal more than what Genetics can provide over to Panitom, but there's no camps for Twig to really heal on, so instead, he's going to go back to base. I'm not sure if he got spotted on that ward or not, but if the Oni Warriors know this is happening, they could pull this fire.
And it seems like another little bit of a reset, but when you see them back, I want to see them come back with wards. Again, I'm going to beat it into the ground. Warding is so important when you get to this portion, because just one misplay, one person barely out of position, can be punished very easily, and it's both sides. Either side has this opportunity, and if you really look at it, this Anhur at this point is probably one of the scarier gods on the entire map. The Merlin very strong right now also, but this Deathbringer difference between ADCs just sticks out to me like a sore thumb. Objective burn, the potential to kill Twig. We saw Twig jump into the backline, nearly get eviscerated off the map. Eyes on that.
Now a bit of a reset for both teams around enhanced fire once more. Panitom jumps into mid, throws a drop kick Twig's way, but doesn't hit home with it this time. Oni Warriors are just poking for any little bit of damage that they can get. Same with Variety, trying to get some big damage up, and now instead he might be the one in danger. 30% of his health gone. Quig's just walking back to his team, but now it's CaptainTwig taking an unfortunate 1v1 against Panitom. Has to use the bat out of hell, but Panitom will take that trade. When is Shamash now down, but so is CaptainTwig's escape. The Oni Warriors go back to the Fire Giant. Variety trying to get in there, but Variety's lost a lot of health. The fire's falling low. Snipes in by Jarcorrr. The Oni Warriors will get the Fire Giant, and Variety's already used his ultimate. Sot's gonna try and catch out anyone he can. Jump in. Cage not available for Sot. He's already used it. Quig's got no resources left. Netrioid has taken him down.
And the Kings, they're looking to get chased out. Warriors looking to jump in a tower. Jarcorr's gone. Now chasing a little bit farther. Variety too.
Netrioid with the double kill. 2 low health bars. Variety might not be able to go back to base on his own. It'll be Panitom to send him back into body bag. The slow is there. The barrier to hold him back, but drop kicks him against the wall. Smacks him down with the blade. The Oni Warriors still stand tall. 5 versus 2. It's up to BMT and CaptainTwig to play defense.
And they've got the sustain right now. Yemoja is one of the best characters in this scenario. Basically half Omi. They're going to be looking to end now.
Sot jumps in. Ultimate's available for Panitom. Can they get the damage? Take it down. Drop kick. CaptainTwig against the wall. He jumps out of the cage, but that's his own death sentence. Timeline's not saving you. And that's the Oni Warriors who come out on top for game number 1.
And what a fantastic end there by the Warriors. The Fire Giant into the chase down. There was just nothing that the Kings could really do. They don't look to step up, and they don't look to play back. If you're going to be in a position to give up that Fire Giant, you have to commit to one or the other. The half defense does nothing but spell your doom.
I mean, so many times during that, we see one person step up, oh no, I got poked, I need to go back. Another person, oh, I got poked, I need to go back. And the Camelot Kings, they just keep taking health bar after health bar loss in these trades. And the Warriors realize that they're doing this, say, fine, we're just gonna keep committing to these fights because you just keep sending one person at a time.
And that highlights it perfectly. The Yemoja difference in this game was just insane. the healing potential, the poke potential. Yes, the walls weren't huge, but that's not really the biggest strength of Yemoja. It's the peel potential. You don't even have to trade well. You just have this healing advantage that you just have to abuse.
There's a back and forth game here in game number 1 between the Warriors and the Camelot Kings, but this one comes up Warriors. They're now 1 game away from going to the semifinals. Can they do it? Will the Kings bounce back? We'll find out in game number 2 right after this.
Live react. I haven't seen this yet. We have a clip from Genetics' POV, I believe. Yep, build it back up. I love the taunt. Oh no, and then he claps at him. What? This isn't, that's not real. That is not real.
I like Genetics a lot because he's just like, what you see is what you get, you know what I mean? He's not really putting on a show when he's like being mean or talking smack on Twitter, right? And I respect people like that.
I think any support player would tell you he's a very, very talented player. Obviously a very confident player. You can tell that just from listening to him speak for 10 seconds about the way he sees the game or how sure of his opinions he is.
A shot caller like him is always gonna win you games because you want people to be proactive on the map, and I feel like he gets people to be proactive. He doesn't want lazy people. He doesn't want lazy players that just farm, that just do this like a book.
Genetics comms and shot calls can be a double-edged sword. You can see the best and worst of it, I think, in this full split. There were even games that were closer than they needed to be, because sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you're 3K ahead, and you can just play 3K ahead.
He has his style that he likes to play, and I feel like when he's on a team, they're gonna play the way he wants to play for sure. I think we've seen that with the Warriors, and I think it's worked well for the Warriors too. Like maybe they haven't had the same win-loss as last phase or whatever, but they've still really good team, top of their division.
He's probably one of the best players on the team, but he has these 2 or 3 picks that if you ban out, you have a much better chance. And it's not because the drop-off isn't necessarily that bad, but since he's like the focal point of the team, like if he's not controlling the game on like a Kepri or something and walking around objectives, it just feels like he's not nearly as useful.
He is kind of predictable in the way he plays, you know. If the Warriors are behind and Gold Fury is coming up, he's not going to be there. He's going to be trying to do fire. You know, he's very predictable, but predictable in that sense, and in terms of his gods as well. Like he does have 2 or 3 gods that he plays to like the best like possible standard, like the gold standard of support. And then after that, it's not the same as like the other 3 gods that he's best at.
We don't care about the regular season like that we have this phase, because I feel like we weren't aiming for that, right? We were just aiming for improving as a team, getting the personalities and everything the way we want to play, being on the same page pretty much.
They just got to be careful. It's not always the most calculated decisions from Genetics. It just depends what shows up on game day.
Yeah, I think people are pretty accurate with their assessment. Obviously, they're absolutely terrified of my main 2 characters year in, year out. It's why I'm the most banned player in the league. But yeah, I guess it's not too far out there. Yeah.
It was like a good amount.
50%?
Yeah, 50%. Right? Yeah, I mean, there's like, you know, seems like a little bit of glaze, but like.
There was a lack of Yemoja gameplays. I kind of thought like I was kind of someone saying like that guy's the GOAT Yemoja. It's not even close, but no one even said that. So. Yeah, I'm gonna go back on that one and say the only games Kings won this year were the games where I did exceptional shot calling in the first half of the year. You can watch back. There was like a game where we backdoored their tie-in when we were losing to Dragons. I don't know. Also worked well last year at Worlds, so I guess copium for that one, but it's fine. It's a fine opinion, I suppose.
All I can think about
Millions of people live for the night, chasing a feeling just for a high. And when I was all alone, I found you. Millions of people can't get it right, waiting for someone all of their life. And when I was getting lost, I found you. When the night turns to day and the moon starts to fade, will you be there? Will you be there? When the sky starts to rain, will you run? Will you stay? Will you be there? Or will you be there? Right when the love runs out, world turning upside down. Not gonna let you go, keep you close. Thousands are in the crowd, minutes are counting down. Promise that you won't go. Right when the love runs out.
My name's John Koob. I'm with Steel Series, and we're here with
Max, Aurora, and Max, Panicat, Deathwalker,
and Rapio,
CaptainTwig, and Zatman.
We're going to see how well you actually know the game of Smite. We're doing the Name That Sound Challenge. Let's go sound number 1.
Deicide. Deicide. This is Deicide announcer.
The announcer.
The regular announcer.
Regular announcer pack. Deicide, yeah.
I'll go again.
Oh, man. Is that an ability?
I have no idea.
Oh, man. I can't. I got nothing.
That's the Christmas house skin.
Huh?
It's the Christmas house skin, I'm pretty sure. Is that like Kumba 1? Actually?
Really?
Oh. It's
That's
a
someone's laugh.
Anubis laugh.
Okay.
You should know this.
Why? Is it a hunter?
No, because you like the laugh.
That's Anubis laugh.
What the? Twig.
Oh, man.
I'd be playing that.
I don't ever
is it
laugh in
Agni?
game.
Anubis.
Oh, Anubis. I don't laugh. Okay, I kind of hear Anubis not here. I hear. All right. Artemis 3.
Artemis. I better know that. That's my role.
That's a hunter. Artemis. Level up. Hey, you are slow, buddy.
Dude, I told you I was gonna lose.
Leveling up.
Leveling up, yeah.
The level up.
Yeah. Pinging on the map.
Nice. Both. That's good.
Ping.
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 Locking in.
Lock in.
Looking in like a character. Oh my god, I was thinking about it.
Gentlemen, great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Those game sounds sound a whole lot better in the SteelSeries Arctis headset. Thanks to SteelSeries for being with us here in Season 10 of the SMITE World Championship. Fellas, we're burning the midnight oil here. No, it's 9 o'clock. We're burning, although for our bodies. Hazer, I don't know what time it is for you.
6 hours.
It's 9 o'clock. He's sitting right next to you, dude. He's in the same time zone.
That's not how that works. He flew here, it changes.
Right. Everything is different. I don't believe it.
I'm not doing maths at 3 a.m.
Pull out your phone.
I can
What
figure
time
that
3
out.
a.m. Got it. You heard it here first. Burning the 10 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Central time.
There you go, bud.
Oil. Here on the desk. Figured this one would be a very competitive set. Started off in a very competitive way. Camelot Kings showed up to play, but it's the Oni Warriors getting the job done. The SteelSeries Moments of Glory from game number 1 will take us back through the action just a little bit. Trelly, what do you see here from the Oni Warriors that give them the edge in game 1?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, yeah, they had early aggression, of course. That's what we expected from the Oni Warriors. But something that the Camelot Kings did was stall this game out to an even standpoint. When you look at 30 minutes, 40-ish minutes, and the gold lead is even despite the kill differential, none of this really matters, right? Sure, you got the early aggression, and that's great, but What I found interesting is the fact that the Oni Warriors, with this early game composition, were able to finally find that team fight win. And I'm going to echo what Bobby was saying. It looked like a bit of a Yemoja diff to me.
Hazer, same read, Yemoja diff?
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like the Kings almost played the Warriors at their game. It was a very objective, focused match, not too many kills to speak of through the early mid-game, and then it kind of went crazy around these FG fights, and eventually the Oni Warriors just seemed to find the go button. They found the right Yemojas. They managed to pick up the fire after kind of abusing that Yemoja sustain. They get that fire, and the game ends very, very quickly afterwards, Core.
And I think the thing that really stands out, because we've gone for months now, right, without seeing people like Genetics playing the Yemoja, and it's really easy to remember, like, she is one of the hardest gods to play that consistently well, period. Like, there's a reason that she only comes out sometimes, and even then, when she came out, there were certain players that just couldn't make her work the same way as some of the others, but Genetics was always one of those ones that was very, very, very consistent with her. And then you get to see this, and that's the reminder of, like, hey, this is why Yemoja was, like, the top pick, the top ban for literal years in SMITE, because if you can have that kind of performance, it changes your team dynamic.
Yeah, 16,000 healing there. That seems pretty good.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Who is it?
I guess the one giving you the eyebrows. What do you mean you know? You stole him.
Well, the camera's probably still not on them.
He was trying to play forgetful Shelly. Come on, he was trying to get out of there.
He was caught in 4K. You see how clear we look?
There we go. now he can bounce back, and I'll give him the hard hands. There you go. Sorry about it. No, I'm not.
There was some plausible deniability for like 10 seconds there.
Unlucky. Trelly, there got to, I'm a big fan of the silver linings. Got to be some silver linings for the Kings here, despite a loss. Better fight than you expected, just about what you expected, still some confidence going into game 2.
I mean, being able to stall out the game is definitely a plus, but the other thing was CaptainTwig was playing with confidence. That Camazotz was not sitting back, right? He got the double kill early on. Good. I like seeing that aggression.
We roll in to picks and bans for game number 2 between the Oni Warriors and the Camelot Kings. Your friendly reminder, I do it once a set. This is a best of 3 Oni Warriors, a chance to go on to the semifinals right now. Camelot Kings got to do it twice in order to keep themselves alive in their hopes of defending the SMITE World Championship. Hazer, adaptations to be had in your mind from P's and B's from game 1?
I think I'd like to see Jarcorrr get something a little bit earlier on in the draft. I didn't really see a whole lot of anything out of that Ram, to be honest. He went down that Kins, Titan Spain type route of build as well, which I don't know, I feel like we should be seeing a bit more crit. And the Yemoja is the takeaway from the Kings as well. They saw that healing number. Oh, yeah. They saw those walls go up in front of them and deny them getting into the objectives, and they decide, yeah, that's enough genetics Yemoja for one day.
Yeah, I think this was the correct call. The Camelot Kings said, hey, if we're not looking to grab that Yemoja, that's not something we prioritize this highly in the draft, and if our quote-unquote counter in the Baron didn't really, shut it down, we just need to get rid of it, right? Yemoja needs to be a pick that does not get into Genetics' hands once again, and I tend to agree.
But, and we've seen, like, Baron versus Yemoja, and I'm kind of curious for both of your thoughts. In a lot of those moments, those matchups, it does kind of feel 50-50, maybe a little Baron-slided, but, like, you had more walls, right?
It was
there was a lot more there to really cause him trouble. Do you think, like, what's the likelihood of actually going back to an Odin?
It was the addition of the Odin, I agree. That really put Quig down. But again, if you can get to 30+ minutes even, then it's not the draft fault. It was just that one engage towards late game. So I wouldn't hate a run back for the Camelot Kings. Not a full run back, but I wouldn't hate the majority of the same style of play because they were able to get where they like, late game. That is where the Camelot Kings can thrive.
Absolutely. I think maybe they were lacking a little bit in the draft late game is where it let them down. It felt like the Ram and the Tiamat didn't really have the same impact as even Anhur, not regarded as a late game character, but Merlin, I feel like monstrous late game. I felt like Big Man couldn't quite get the impact that he wanted. And again, we see bans focusing out mid lane here. Toph, Baba going to be unavailable, so they're going to be forced down into perhaps a lower tier pick here. Kukulkan, a god who I don't think we saw picked or banned last game. I would like to see maybe the Kings have a look at that.
Notice how as the day has gone on, we now start to slow down a little bit in the early phase of these picks and bans. Set 1, we're zooming. All 6 picks already locked in. These two teams always very methodical with how they pick and ban anyway. But now as well, they're going into their bank time and setting the tone properly with your first pick. Hyper important. Notably, Kings in first pick as we move into the second game here. And They're thinking long and hard about what they want to swing with first.
This is something, first off, Biggie does this a lot, even in the regular season, right? There's a lot of discussion for this team because it's not just their first pick that they're thinking of. It's, hey, what are you feeling? If we get this, what are we locking in with it? What are our top three? Like, they're planning ahead and making sure that they're adapting each step of the way, right? So you get the Maman up at the top, and now you get to start adapting of what's the Warriors' next pick, what's the third. And for them, this one has that additional weight, right? Like, you are the returning world champs. You need this game, or like your tournament starts to fall apart and crumble in front of your eyes. And, you know, for someone like Twig as well, I mean, this is year 10, I guess 11 if you want to count the launch tournament, where he has been to every single big tournament of SMITE. Like, this has to be your performance. This has to be your game right now.
Twig, a competitor through and through. Having won last year, I imagine the weight off just a little bit. Chasing a second lightning bolt on the collar, but he got the one last year and he did it emphatically. hi-rez, I believe it was an 86% ban rate on Maman that I saw on the bottom of the screen there. I think our literal first game of the day was the only one where the pick wasn't banned, and now we're gonna get our first Worlds look with what I presume to be the jungler.
Yeah, our second look at Twig's Maman as well. He played this previously one time, I think it was, in the qualifiers into this tournament. Yep. Looked pretty good on it. I wouldn't say it's a Twig style pick the same way I would say it isn't really a Sino style pick, right? It's a real hyper carry. But one thing it does open up, magical jungler. You start to consider, could the Kings switch up the draft here? Could we see BigManTingz maybe step away from the mages, step into a double hunter comp? I'm not sure. Trelly, do you think that could be something that the Kings consider?
I wouldn't hate it, but it's not something we've seen in quite some time, right? I mean, who was the guy? I know you're the Neath guy, but in this case, BigManTingz love to play that mid lane Neath. So that is, of course, always an option, but I can't think of the last time we saw a Hunter in the mid lane just because these mages are so impactful. Think of the reason Thoth is, you know, first banned every single game. Think of, as you mentioned earlier, that Kukulkan that can just delete someone off the face of the map. Not too many Hunters that can really do that, you know? They don't have that DPS. They have to get online quite a while. And, you know, I hate to say it, but Neath takes a bit too.
Yeah, she takes a big element. We did see Sat earlier. Maybe Sat? Could I convince you of an assassin in the mid lane, Gore?
I could take a Sat.
Okay.
I could be convinced, but that was also Paul, which maybe as, I don't know, BigManTingz has been like, in my mind, he's always just that like essential mage player. It kind of like, you know, we always talk about like Agni being like the pinnacle of like mid lane mage balance.
There he is.
BMT is the pinnacle of that guy playing mid. Like, he's just the mage. He's so solid at it. And there's still a few, you know, over the last couple of weeks, like we saw a lot of Kukulkan that has kind of gone to the wayside. Last time Warriors, I think, appropriately banned out like the Raijin that the Kings were playing last week. So there's definitely options for him to maybe lean into his playstyle. But I think especially if you have the Maman, that, like you said, it kind of complicates things. Either you lean super heavy into it, or you just cross your fingers that whatever your lock-in goes well.
Izanami ban rolls through. I'm a big Izanami fan because I can just sit back and auto-attack the entire wave all at once. That's pretty sweet. I don't have to do much thinking in the lane, but admittedly, Trelly, didn't expect to see it here. Is it that big a surprise, or no?
No, this is the Netrioid special. He is the only one that goes to Iza pretty consistently, and it's just for what you just said. They walk up, they clear the wave, they hit level 2, and then they try and pressure you throughout the entirety of the game. Remember, the Oni Warriors, they're not hiding their strats. They want to look through early game. That's what they tried to play through last game. It didn't necessarily work out. Sure, they got the lead, but it ended up going late regardless. Iza would have done that. Xbal, he's a little bit more slanted towards that late game. He certainly doesn't come out level 2 swinging, but he'll scale, and that's exactly what the Oni Warriors want.
Well, eventually. Still needing, as we've talked about, a mid lane pick. Potential for flexibility there for BigManTingz. A Kukulkan and an Odin ban. hi-rez. Are there some obvious choices in your mind for the Kings to now pick their final two?
Yeah, I think looking at what Big Man has already played, we've got the Vulcan, the Raijin, and the Morgan Le Fay still available that he's gone to previously. He has lost once on Vulcan, lost twice on Raijin, and he got a win on Morgan, so maybe that's what he will be, you know, pressured towards from his own win rate. But there it is, the pinnacle of mid lane balance, is it, Gore?
You got it, Gore. You
yeah,
still
so
got it.
I'm gonna be honest. Those were just like, he was just an example of what being like. That was a comparison, not a prediction, but I'll take it.
Another Gilgamesh.
Yeah, you look good. And of course, the Gilgamesh coming through as well. Not something I expected. Remember, we saw Panitom on it. It is more of a jungle style pick, but picked in this slot, you gotta assume that's going towards the solo lane.
And Panitom Susano ends the draft. All right, my smart analysts, we've got all 10 characters locked in. Oni Warriors have game number 1 in hand. Can send the Camelot Kings packing on their hopes to defend their Smite World Championship title. Gormizer, you see all 10 locked in. Give me a phase of the game to look at for one team or the other.
Late game. Right, I see Maman. I'm immediately starting to look at late game specifically for the Kings. Like, she can do and kind of get hands-on early, and so maybe Twig can do that, but when was the last time we saw Twig and thought, yeah, that guy's a sub-level 5 player? Like, that is just not the way they play. So I think it's a god that lines up with how he likes to farm. It's a god whose itemization lines up with how he likes to farm. It's a god that lines up with how the Kings like to play. But you also get this really fun balance because, you know, the Sobek, admittedly, I looked it up, hasn't treated Quig well, and he doesn't play it a lot, at least in the Pro League and things like that. So there's definitely going to be maybe some growing pains there, but like, it has been one of the top priorities overall. So I think team fight and pressure-wise, that is an opener. You've got stuns from the Agni, and you've got a Gilgamesh that, if we are assuming appropriately and he's going over there to be a little more tanky, he's going to have a really large amount of setup. I think that if they can find those right moments, the CC chain into just a Maman and Ram damage, like Jarcorrr could have the time of his life about 30 minutes into this game.
And that's what Quig is picking the Sobek for, right? He wants to just go in for Plucks, make Twig's life easier, make Variety's life easier, try and set up these sort of ganks. But look on the other side, man. Whenever Amaterasu is in play, objective focus is going to be what the Oni Warriors want to look towards. We see Bracers, we see Frenzies, we see Shoguns pretty much immediately, and then we're just going to run down every single objective on the map. The Oni Warriors can do that and just ignore fight, right? Instead of just sitting there and waiting till late game, you sort of force late game upon the Camelot Kings.
Yeah, I love that point. I feel like the objectives play is going to be so strong here from the Warriors. You get the Amma on it, you get the Xbalanque on it, you drop the Ganesha to zone the opponents, you turn out the lights, and then you take it down. It's getting late here, the Xbalanque locked in. I feel like pretty appropriate.
Yep, I'll take that.
Could be just around the corner from turning off the lights in the venue here if the Oni Warriors are able to take it. Gormizers, there's still some gas in the tank here for the Camelot Kings and their defense run.
So this is where things get really interesting because, like, looking at some of the numbers, not a lot of them line up well for the Kings and Gods, but like, when we see Tingz on Agni, it's his 4th most played god. He's got a good win rate on it. It's because it is tried and true. It is something they can lock down. I've got faith in him.
I want to give some love to the fans in here as well. They have been with us all day long. They're still here. They're still bringing the energy. We've got at least one more. We'll go down the casters to start it.
Let's hear a little bit here for the teams out. Any of the Camelot Kings fans out here think they can take it to 3? Oh, come on, I know you guys can do a little better than that. Any Camelot Kings fans out here, bring it to 3.
They're confident. We're going to 3. They sound confident.
They think it's going to 3. But what about Oni Warriors fans? I think they're shutting it out here. I think the Oni Warriors sounds feeling a little bit more confident. We'll have to see how the players can do so, though, in game number 2 inbound. This is a back-and-forth game in game number 1 where Camelot Kings, they're 3,000 gold down. But that's the farthest that gold lead had ever gotten for the Oni Warriors, and the Kings able to keep that fight back. But the problem that they really ran into in the late game was just this constant funnel, this conveyor belt style of play that ended up being their downfall.
Yeah, and that's why I liked that Yemoja throwaway ban. Just get rid of it. It's a problem. We can't really deal with it. We tried. We even picked a counter pick into it. Just get rid of it. That's what they did. Now the Warriors shifts a little bit for me. You look at the late game potential of this Kings comp. I love it. I love their 5v5. But individually, their gods aren't the strongest. Other than this Maman, the Maman sticks out. Fantastic god. Undeniable. Late game, one-shot machine. Can play early game. But you look at the other side. Amma sticks out as one of the best solos. Phenomenal jungle Susano. Tiamat, if it goes late, phenomenal. And Ganesh, for my money, probably the best support in the game currently. It is so simple to just dictate an entire team fight all by yourself. And with how good Genetics played that first game, get him onto the Ganesh. You can win fights with Dharmic Pillars. I'll happily take that bet on Genetics.
I mean, sometimes one tick of Dharmic Pillars is all you need to sway the entire tide of a team fight. We'll see how Genetics can pilot this god, because this has been a slow uprising on Ganesh. You get to the beginning of the year, nobody but Roar is playing this god. And all of a sudden, people starting to see, hey, you know, this god's kind of good. Maybe we should start playing it. By the time we get to end of the first phase in the Masters, this is a must-pick, must-ban, and it hasn't really changed that much all the way up here to the world stage.
And on top of this dominant Ganesh pick, Sobek into it is not an easy play. Eyes kind of on Twig for this little 1v1 matchup when it gets to those mid-game fights, looking for plucks. it is very difficult to find plucks against this Gilgamesh, or against this Ganesh. So that's what I'm looking at. And on the opposite side, this Gilgamesh is what I have my eyes on for this warrior, or for the Kings. Because this is not a normal solo laner. This is not a god we expected to see really at all. Maybe in jungle a little bit. So it's going to be curious just to see kind of what he's actually looking for in mid.
Quig trying to take down Panitom, but doesn't get another application of those soul spikes. And so Panitom will live, heals up with those potions in hand as well. But I do want to go back to the Gilgamesh, because I think you're right to say that. For almost all of Gilgamesh's lifetime, it has been jungle, but there's been small buffs going his way to try and push him to that solo, but let's see if variety, I mean, we've seen it a couple of times throughout regular phase. I think FinoK is one person who would jump to it sometimes, but this is not his traditional role.
What I'm curious what variety goes for. Is he going to go for that more jungle style build? A little hybrid, a little bit of damage. Actually, Quig is so low.
Quig in danger, goes right to the jet stream, jumps inside of Panitom's shadow. Can PMT bail him out? Maybe it could be 2 for Panitom if he plays his cards right, but doesn't have the cooldowns to get the kill. CaptainTwig lives on single-digit HP.
And that is what you want to avoid if you're Twig. You do not want to fall behind early, especially to Panitom's Susano. That is a god that can run games by himself. And that is what you want to live. You want to just live with this Maman, get to that late game. Gore talks about it on desk. It is not something that wants to dominate the early game. It is something that gets to that late game, and then that's when it pops off.
What is Quig doing at enemy back camp? Not enough kill pressure just yet from the Oni Warriors to really punish Quig for that, but going for a risky play, trying to slow down the farm maybe of the Oni Warriors.
And as we look at the soul lane, on top of what he's looking to build, I'm curious which starter he goes for. Are we going to see that Axe of Animosity? Are we going to see the Sundering Axe? And Twig getting pressured out a little bit here again.
Another jet stream in. CaptainTwig half
This
HP.
is bad.
Not sure if he can even try and defend this blue buff from Sot and Panitom. Every one of his cooldowns needs him to be really close range, and he doesn't have access to that explosion of Soul's ultimate just yet. So it will be a blue invade for the Oni Warriors, and not much response left from the Camelot Kings.
And there's nothing they can do there. Variety's just too low to be able to respond. Twig gets poked out a little bit before. They lose both blues, and this is detrimental for Variety. He doesn't have this MP5 sustain. Yes, he's got a little bit of sustain HP 5 with this one. He's got the HP 5 with the shield, but he doesn't have that mono sustain. So maybe this bleeds out a little bit more beyond just the one blue. Maybe we see continuous blue buff invades, and this could be a problem, because this is a problem the Kings have. That solo side of the map kind of gets left by themselves, and it becomes really problematic for everyone else.
And the one thing that Gilgamesh not really known for in lane either is clear. You can see how much of an advantage SOT has over Variety in able to cleave out those archers or anything like that. So we do see the opt for the gooseberries for Variety to try and help him. And more often than not, we'll probably be seeing the ultimate used for this. Clear out the wave. I need anything so I can just go back to base safely.
Pretend like Gilgamesh is those cuckoos in mid. They just want to ult the wave just to be able to get that reset off, get strong. That's what they need to do. Because as you said, he doesn't clear well. That is not a god that's going to dominate the lane. And he had to go pick up his Gilgamesh present thing, his passive thing.
Yeah,
he had to go get that. And he got mid-guard? Not bad.
Could be. We'll see if he finishes it or if he sells it. Panitom, though, on the way.
No
Might just be
beads.
putting a death in Variety's column. First blood is on its way. Typhoon charge. Typhoon launched. Panitom on the board first for the Warriors.
And Variety, he tries to just play a little bit too far forward, tries to get that totem. Unfortunately, doesn't have the damage for totem and doesn't have the safety to get away from that gank. And we see the strength of the Susano on those ganks. You can play it pretty perfectly. Unfortunately, he can chase you across the map with the multiple dashes and the CC that he has. It just makes it very difficult for Variety with no beads, at least until 12, to play any type of aggression.
And we see a bit of the downside of using that ultimate to clear wave. This is something that we saw punished a few months back before the mages took over solo. It was Warriors over there. Just, I'm a Hercules. I'll throw my boulder, clear out a wave, no problem. Now it's coming back to bite him. BMT holds onto his dash, throws down the fumes right under, is able to stun out Panitom.
No
now
dashes.
look at CaptainTwig do. Ultimate is used. Panitom at half. The spikes have hit, but it's not enough. And the snipes from Yark, they're just too far out of range. Panitom able to escape deck.
But I don't hate that play by Twig. You're trying to put Panitom on the back foot. You're getting this green buff invade. That is fine. You don't need to kill every time you look for a play. Just bullying out with this. Hopefully Variety can get his own blue, because this is what you don't want to see. You don't want blue buffs continuously invaded, and Twig is not on that side of the map.
You see Variety finish up that first item. Is Phalanx instead for that first slot going up against SOT. Get a little bit of that extra boost for fighting into the auto attack damage. The rest of his build, I think it's the bigger question. Do we see something similar to Panitom's build defense-wise? Do we see the Shogun's Kasari for that magical defense? Do we see more, emphasis towards this auto attack build, or do we see a traditional bruiser build out of this Gilgamesh?
And wait, something that just caught my attention. This Agni build is another book, possible poly maybe coming out, something that we're not typically seeing with this book build. Usually it's book deso, but it seems like Big Man is opting for something else. Maybe he's trying to get some tablet stacks, go for that a little earlier too.
Man, we haven't seen tablet in a long time. It would be a wild pull out, but when you think about Agni, easy god to apply those stacks. I mean, 3 bombs at any given time, throw out the Noxus Fume just for easy, subtle poke. Wouldn't surprise me, but I think actually, no, scratch that. It would surprise me to probably see it.
It would be a little surprising, but I think you're right. It's pretty easy to stack. And talking about stacking, we saw this last, there should be nothing here. Quig, he's trading a little bit. It's normal. Trying to get those cloak stacks, but cloak stacks, something I was going to talk about. We saw the cloak last time. Very hard to get finished stacking for both sides. Neither of them actually ended up finishing stacks. Genetics opts for just the Thebes now. No cloak for him. So maybe if they can just play back a little bit, make Quig either put himself out of position to get those cloak stacks, because that's the advantage you have. They have to play up to get the stacks against you.
I see what Variety's doing. He's doing the Osiris and Bellona build that Deathwalker started up. Looks like he's going towards Executioner next for his item, so might end up selling that tier 1 in that second slot a little bit later, but you've got it for now. It was free, it didn't cost you anything. Keep it there for the defenses.
Well, maybe be a little bit different at least, because no death toll. The death toll kind of makes it so you can kind of just continuously auto down, trade a little bit. You're not getting that Executioner pen for the Axe of Animosity, so it'll play a little bit different. I think it'll play a little bit more poke-oriented, a little bit more team fight, less him just holding forward and just trying to beat down on him.
Variety, going blow for blow up against the enemy solo laner for the time being. CaptainTwig just kind of roaming about the jungle right now. We haven't really seen much unless it's Panitom starting something up, and then CaptainTwig playing very responsive to what Panitom's been doing.
Yeah, and I think it's exactly that. They're mostly waiting for these junglers to find an opening. That's who they're relying on. So far, this Maman, not really an early game character. The Kings do not mind kind of playing this slow. This lead is nothing. They do not mind this.
2 versus 1. Variety confirms the buff. It cost him his ultimate. He jumps under the tower. Now Netrioid popping the Darkest of Nights because Quig and CaptainTwig walking up to purple buff to try and take that one away from him. Not sure if they were able to actually confirm that one away, but at the very least, burned an ultimate away from him.
And it's a small thing, but that's a big win across the map for the Kings. 1, no rotation to help Variety get his blue, but he still confirms it. 2, they now have purple buff timer. Maybe they didn't get it, but it doesn't matter. Now they have timers of when they need to be, where they need to be. And a lot of it is on Twig. Where is he going to play to? So far, he has that lead in the jungle, and he's not done really much of anything at all. So that's like just something to look at. Panitom is level 8, and he got that first blood. That is not something that should be happening. Panitom needs to get more farm.
Considering Net hasn't gone back to pick it up, we'll assume safely. The Camelot Kings did steal purple, but you're right to say timer the most important part of that. To try and get some pressure in one of these lanes. Variety not having the greatest time in solo right now, down a full level and a half to SOT, just now hit that 10. They'll try and trade in lane, but it's hard to trade, I should say, because of what you mentioned. No death stole sustain, no inherent immediate heal. Sure has HP 5, but HP 5 is a lot slower to get in that easy 1-2, bam, here's half my health back.
And on top of that, it's also just a level diff. So level diff, build diff, items diff. This is going to be very hard for Variety to win this trade anytime soon. But how many times have you heard me say, or anyone say, Variety's behind, but he was still impactful? That's what Variety relies on.
Block on the Genetics, stunned by CaptainTwig. Genetics throws down the Dharmic Pillar, but he's being zoned out. Ultimate's used by both to try and take him down, lock him inside of his own pillar. It's your own coffin. But Genetics hasn't gone down. Sop almost bails him out, but the dot is just enough from CaptainTwig. SOT gonna trade flows and to give the kill over to Pegon. A 1-for-1 trade, but a valuable one for the Warriors to take down the jungler.
And that's exactly it. That's good for the Warriors. It took so many abilities to try to kill Genetics. Yes, they killed him, but they're trading support for solo. Twig is now off the map 15, 20 seconds where he's not able to farm. And on the opposite side, Panitom getting that farm, getting that second item. Panitom spiking now, and Twig is still only 1.5 items deep. Potential for this gold fairy to be looked at, potential for maybe a tier 1 tower. It's been a really slow game so far, so I don't really expect a ton more pop-offs, but that is just like that small opportunity they have. And something that we talked about earlier, tablet on this Agni, this is going to be a very slow game for the Kings. They want to keep this a little slower.
This feels like a game where the Warriors can just ignore BMT, take the fight anywhere else away from this Agni to prevent these stacks, or maybe just take the fight directly to him. Level 10 on Panitom. This is a 9 and a 10 versus a 13. Big damage stun. Darwin Pillars are there, but that's not going to save Panitom when there's 4 Camelot Kings. Genetics is now too far forward. No ult, no dash, no life. Double kill for BigManTingz. The Camelot Kings will now march their way to the Gold Fury. But keep your eyes on Netrioid. Ultimate not back up yet. Doesn't have the range to try and steal this, and he's got to go through 3. Maybe he can get a kill. Maybe he can just poke one of them out so they can't go for this Fury. Netrioid, the saving grace for the Warriors around objective.
And phenomenal play by Netrioid. He gets in there early to try to put damage on them to get them to back off. You're not stealing that with Xball. That is not happening. Just bully them out enough to get them off. But I want to take a look back. What are the Warriors doing that far deep? You know who's in base? Netrioid. Pegon is in base. They're looking for a 2v4 at the enemy's tier 1 mid tower. That cannot happen. We cannot have those mistakes.
It's a fight around Beacon. BMT's trying to get some poke,
Look at that
but it's not enough. Look at what's been thrown out of CaptainTwig instead. Quarter mana, half HP. No shot. Twig is staying around this fight anytime soon. Drops the red buff under tower for BMT. Got to go back and farm now.
And I think that kind of shows us the difference in this mid lane build. We saw the Tiamat poke out CaptainTwig, half health him. Big Man did nothing like that. Gold Fury's pulled by the Warriors.
Karmic Pillar used, Darkest of Nights as well. The Camelot Kings are going to take a long time to be able to get there, and they can't make it in time. The Oni Warriors will get the Gold Fury. Can they even get the farm after SOT used the Dazzling Offensive, but it's not going to catch anyone this time. The Camelot Kings safe on their life, but the objective goes to the Chaos team.
And Hazer talks about this on the desk. What are you supposed to do if you have so much burn on the objective and the lights are out? How are you supposed to get in? You have to walk through so much damage, so much poke potential where they didn't even opt to walk into the jungle. They stayed in lanes because they were so terrified somebody could just be right around the corner in the jungle.
Maybe a flank on a Pegon. Stun is good by Big Man. Pluck pulls beads from the enemy mid laner. The valuable resource stripped away by the combo of BMT and Quig. Well, at least make things a little bit better for that next fight. But man, we keep coming back over the solo lane. It just keeps feeling like it's getting worse and worse for Variety. Genetics taking some damage. Now those tablet stacks are starting to get up there. Starting to see the damage BMT can do.
And this is where the Kings win. I love that they're forcing these fights in mid. This is where their comp is the strongest. And they got the beads down on Pegon. Panitom has no beads for 60, an opportunity here.
Variety drop kicks Panitom against the wall.
Solo.
The Pegon's trying to get out and get some big damage, but Sot is being used by CaptainTwig just to move around. Not enough damage. Twig lives, and it's SoloOrTroll down. The Camelot Kings went out on the team fight, and now over to the Pyromancer.
They're low.
Also
They're
weak.
low.
They can't take this one out. CaptainTwig's got to walk out of the circle, or he might lose his life. The Camelot Kings get one and Pyro.
And another big win for the Kings. They're taking these fights in mid. That's where they need to continue forcing them. They're getting so many tablet stacks on this Agni. Yes, he's still not that strong, but he's still a threat enough to force out relics. And you see this big level advantage in support. Quig can do anything he wants. He can pluck in, he can miss pluck right now, and he's not getting punished. And that's something that Genetics can't do. If he misses dash, he is dying. So eyes on the supports, at least for the next couple minutes, where if they do miss, a punish onto Genetics. If Quig misses, they really can't hurt him.
Jarcorrr level 14 has been a little part of the action, but I do want to go back to Variety's build. Does end up going for that mid Guardian build that she shouted out a little bit earlier, so is opting to kind of finish that build. And when you look at some of the comp, not a bad item to pick up. Amaterasu gonna struggle a bit. Netrioid does have mobility to try and escape, but this is the kind of trades now that Variety can take. He's just a bit tankier, and he makes it so hard for the enemy. Darkest of Nights from Netrioid, but he's so low on mana, he can't even really go for a proper fight, begging for the team to get there fast enough, but it loses out on tier 1 tower.
And Panitom is forced to walk underneath. Blink was available. He could have looked for that opportunity over top. Unfortunately, Net, no more mana, so really no more fight potential there. And that's a tier 1 tower down. We're talking about a 1.5k lead for the Kings. The Camelot Kings, a team that struggles in this early and mid portion, and you love to see how they're playing. They're playing around big man, and I've said it a lot. Mid lane is where their strength is right now. I want to see them maybe even go for this tier 1 very soon. They're getting so many stacks, Yes, they still don't have great tank killing potential, but it's nice poke. A little bit of poke goes a long way.
BMT now level 17, highest farm in the lobby. And rightfully so, with how much damage he's able to put out. Stun on Pegon, Runic Bomb on tier 1 tower, and it will crumble to the Camelot Kings. Quig misses the pluck though, and now on the wrong side of the fight. Genetic's gonna try and catch him out. Does with the dash, but Quig can try and go away. Panitom pulls him back and gets lurking in the water. Pillar knock one up, and neither is the Typhoon. Quig able to squeak out of the fight.
How many Maman games has he gotten in the past week to prepare for a game like this? I feel like Twig is playing fantastic so far, positioning-wise, where he is on the map, his positioning in the fights. He is letting variety, he's letting Quig start the fights, and he's the one that's taking advantage of him.
Still haven't really seen the solo laners move too much over to these team fights just yet, though. 15 on their levels, teleport fully upgraded for SoloOrTroll, but not quite there for Variety just yet. We haven't really seen Variety leave this lane. All the action's been brought to him. Eventually, we gotta see him move to the actual fight.
Or, at this point, with that belted Berserker finished on Genetics, potential for a Fire Giant any second now. We have Amaterasu, we have Berserkers, we have plenty of damage from this ADC. Yes, no crit, but it doesn't really matter too much with how much damage is elsewhere. Jarcorr's rolling in
by Yark. Though Net used the dash and Darks and Knights, taking some plenty of distance to get away. Sot TP's over to the left side of the map. And now it's a full grouping minus Variety. He's not here just yet. He's got 10 seconds till his teleport's back.
And even with that, it's not upgraded. He has to teleport to a tower. Little opportunity here for the Warriors. But it seems like they're still just opting to play it a little bit slower. They have this frenzy, they have pull.
He's got to go back to base now. See if he upgrades that teleport because the Fury is just dying to the Oni Warriors. They grab that one with no contest from the Kings.
Wait,
but CaptainTwig and Variety still stepping up. Variety gets silenced out, can even jump over the wall. Good zoning by the mid laner. The Kings allows the soul laner to escape.
And you and me, we're gonna have a talk about this Gilgamesh, because when he goes into these fights, no beads. And no beads into this Ganesh. It is gonna be an impossible task for Variety when it goes late to actually dive and then be able to make plays where he wants to. It's gonna be a very tough ask for him.
Watch out for Quig. It's been spotted by the Oni Warriors. Variety around the wall, has the Winds of Shamash. The rest of the Camelot Kings are moving in. The Oni Warriors will get the Pyromancer, but Quig has pulled the beads away from Netrioid. But look at Quig's health bar. It's not looking too great for him. He's got to use his own ult to bail out, and CaptainTwig losing out on the 1v1 Typhoon use, as well as his own ultimate. And now it's Variety who's just got to play Peel. Don't deliver him to CaptainTwig. He gets pulled back to the tier 1 tower. The Oni Warriors are just winning out the team fight.
And with that, they're healthy enough to go for this Fire Giant. No frenzy yet, but they have this Amaterasu who's not put passive on it.
Dharmic Pillar's still up. Darks and Knights available as well. But Genetics at half HP, it's too much of a threat. The Camelot Kings able to zone away, and as long as BMT is alive and near this fire, it is a tough task for the Oni Warriors.
And something I said 3 minutes ago, the Sobek, if he plucks in, he misses, he won't die. He was awfully close there.
Almost.
And when I look at his build, it's again, we see this double stacking build. It's a very strong late game build, but you need to get these stacks online. We're 20 minutes into this game, no finished cloak. I mean, maybe high expectations to finish a cloak by 20, but Thebes is still not finished. He doesn't have that full-on spike. And you look at Genetics. Genetics is sitting 150 protections deep. He's tankier than Quig is at this point, even though Quig had a dominant early and mid game. If they go late, it'll pay off. If it doesn't go late, maybe he's going to be thinking about this moment where he has this double stack slow build.
Nearly done on the Thebes at least for Quig. So one, almost there. But it's going to take so much time with that prophetic cloak because you've got to get in the face of the enemy to get that damage, to get those stacks for Quig. And no telling how many of each one that he's got at this point. Genetics kicked against the wall by Variety, but it's a teleport in from SoloOrTroll. The Oni Warriors grouping up around this Fire Giant. Frenzy is available as well as all ultimates. This objective could melt fast.
And that's what we've got to be thinking about this entire time. If there's even 2-3 people here, the shred is insane. And just like that, they're starting to shred.
Fire
Fire Giant started up. Frenzy still
Quig's not
available. Ultimate used by Variety. The Winds are keeping 3 locked in. They're bouncing off of the walls, but they're not going to be able to get out just in time. Variety's low. He's got to walk through the ring of fire, and Sot will walk him right down. Stun is good. Panitom tries to chase, but they're low. Aren't great. Quig can just keep up this chase. Lock him in with the lurking in the waters. He's not taking too much damage, and he can change it for everybody else because CaptainTwig is here. The hero the team needs. BMT with the stun. Netrioid down. It's the Kings with the kill.
And maybe they're a little bit low here to pull Fire Giant, but so are the Warriors. Do they have the opportunity to back now before Fire Giant? Variety's already teleported back in. He's back to full health, but it seems like a quick reset. This is a 5v4 big opportunity here for the Kings. No shred though, no crit. They're not going to shred this. They may have to look to fight.
They got their one pick. It's 20 seconds until Netrioid is back. Are the Kings willing to make that risky kind of a call? Do you start this Fire Giant? Do you make the pull to this objective? Or do you sit back, bait, see if you can get anyone to walk too far forward? The Camelot Kings are going to go with the fire, but Quig misses the pluck. No target pulled back this time. It'll have to be a reset of the objective, maybe some damage in the fight. Good poke on Sot, but Sot can reheal no problem.
And that was their one opportunity. If Quig hits pluck, that's the go button. That's the we are taking this fight, we are ready. If he misses pluck, good disengage. I don't hate it. You don't have the opportunity there, don't force it, especially when you're still in a good spot. We talked about late game when it goes to that, especially with these builds we're talking about with the Kings, double stack, we have the tablet. If they go late, it's not a bad thing. So don't feel like you're forced into making a play here, but if the opportunity presents itself, make sure you do it.
Double lifesteal for CaptainTwig. Maybe his most unideal target would be jiving onto Pegon, who has opted for that anti-heal, would shut down so much of that sustain that Twig has opted towards. Now it's the Camelot Kings. Maybe starting up Pyromancer could be another bait forward. Stun, big damage on Genetics. Pluck back into another bomb. He's already half health, and a third bomb landed down. Jarcorrr removes him from the map, and Sot's being ping-ponged around. The dash has been blocked. Sot goes down. It's a massive typhoon onto every one of the Camelot Kings. Panitom out of the back. CaptainTwig, he can't even get the ult up. He's killed in the moment, and that's Panitom bouncing back and forth in the fight. He pulls back quick. Variety's the only one left. The Oni Warriors are swinging through the Camelot Kings. It's a deicide and a triple kill for Pegon.
And that is an unbelievable fight there by the Warriors. How are you winning that fight when you have the first 2 deaths? And I'll tell you how. Panitom, Pegon, combo for this 6 Susano Tiamat damage, and it's just enough to take down a bunch of the Kings. Now, do they have the damage, the opportunity to pull this Fire Giant? Probably not. It's probably just a Pyro into reset. But if you look at the relics on the side of the Warriors, they don't mind it. They don't mind waiting a little bit here.
Pegon's gonna throw out the minions, the lizards. They're gonna walk the wrong way though. Not gonna help them out too much around fire.
Farm.
But now with Genetics here, and a teleport from Sot is able to try and go for this objective now. They don't need the crit because they've got the time to do so. It's 8 seconds until Variety is back up. The Kings were in control this game, and one bad fight might just cost them the Fire Giant. Can Yark get the snipes? By the time he gets to the sky, the Oni Warriors have already taken it down.
Now when we get to this Fire Giants for the Warriors, that is just an unbelievable fight in mid. That's how I want to see them fight, but maybe without the 2 picks earlier. But this Panitom-Pegon combo has got to be on the back of the King's mind. We've got to always consider what they're going to be able to do, how are they going to be able to play. Don't get baited too much by Solo. Don't get baited too much by Genetics. That's their job. They want to absorb this damage. Yes, if they're out of position, put damage onto them, but don't feel like you have to overcommit for them. I think overcommitting to Solo is what caused them to lose that fight. Because as you said, Kings were in control. They got the pluck. They got the pick onto Genetics. Then they chased farther beyond that. Play a little bit slower. As we get to the siege, that's how they need to play these fights. Play them slow. It doesn't need to be an all-in fight. Yes, Fire Giant sustain. Yes, a little bit of just built-in sustain for a lot of the Warriors characters. But they have to make a lot of ground up. There's 3 tier 2s. There's a tier 1. There's a lot of stuff that the Kings have to go, or the Warriors have to go through, excuse me. So just make them go through it.
Keeping track of Panitom has been the hardest part of these team fights for the Camelot Kings. Because one moment, he's all the way sitting back over by Pegon, by Netrioid, keeping these guys safe. Next thing you know, he's diving to the back line. He's trying to kill the Camelot King scaries. And then where is he again? He's back with the front line at the opposite end, at the front ends of the fight more than anything. Keeping track of Susanos in general, keeping track of Panitom on this pick has been the hardest part for the Camelot Kings in these last few fights.
And Panitom for sure is someone to look at, but Pegon just finishing that Ob Shard. This is a 6-slotted Tiamat. We've always talked about Tiamat is a hyper carry god in the truest sense of the word. She does not play well early, but if she gets to late game, she's got incredible poke, incredible damage, and incredible chase down potential. So my eyes, at least for this siege, eyes on Pegon.
It's a pretty good poke. I think that was one bomb on top of SOT. The unfortunate part is that there are totems nearby, and he's able to just re-sustain back off of those, no problem. Not quite up there on the tablet stacks yet, though, for BMT. I had to walk forward. My eyes aren't so great. It's 34 stacks, and I'm not even at that max just yet. But slowly getting it. Genetics plucked back again. This is a start for the Kings, and it's a good kill. Now Quig backing away. Sot, a stun under the tower will bail him out. But now it's a dash forward by BigManTingz. Typhoon hits 2, and now Sot might just be dead, but there's not enough follow-up. And it's CaptainTwig, and everybody chasing out Pegon. The one-man army into the tower. He's already got one. Uses the Aegis. CaptainTwig staying inside of the shadow for as long as he can. But Twig is gone. It's a double kill for Pegon. The Oni Warriors now have 4 to march up against 3, and it's only Yard to defend the Phoenix. Goes up to Skyr by the snipes. Hits Pegon with 1, but he needs the rest of the damage on everybody else. The Phoenix goes down. The Oni Warriors come up with a big win.
And Pegon is the hero for that play. Genetics gets plucked. Can't do anything in that fight. However, again, the Kings, they try to get too much going. They get the kill on Genetics, but they try to chase after. Take your kill, play it slow. Quit trying to force. You're opening up these massive avenues for Pegon to just make these huge plays. He is 6-0-2. Pegon is 6 of the 9 kills. He's got another 2 assists. He is the reason that this game is at the point that it's at, because he's able to just do so much and not get really threatened. Maybe that's what Twig has to look for. He has to pay attention to this Tiamat. And with that alternate timeline down, now if you kill her, it's actually worth it. There's no second life, there's no reset, there's no extra peel that she can get. You kill her now, and I think really good use of the Rama to force it there. Something that maybe is overlooked a little bit. Just getting that on cooldown, because that is a massive, I mean, 300 seconds on it right now.
Look at the gold leaf that the Oni Warriors have built up after these last couple of fights. Nearly 10,000. Wow. And again, this is over the course of 3-4 minutes. It was the fight around fire in that mid lane, and now this fight at tier 2 tower that nets them the tower, the Phoenix, and now pressure, because somebody's got to stay over on left and defend those minions.
And I've talked about a lot in these fights that they have to play it slow after getting the pick on the Genetics. But on the opposite side, for Genetics, he's got to keep this in mind now. This is like 2 or 3 fights in a row where it is a Agni stun, and it's step 1, Agni stun, step 2, Sobek pluck, step 3, kill him. And it's happened 3 times in a row. It's got to stop. Stop frontlining, let Solo frontline. He's got beats for a reason. Let him use them.
I think we might be seeing a bit of that Genetics build. It seems like a Magi is on the horizon for the Elephant to give him a little bit of safety. If 1 stun hits, he's safe. The second one is what you got to worry about, though. The short cooldown on those noxious fumes, and it's also not a very long CC immunity on that bubble, so could be more patient and might even force the Kings to play a bit more patiently around these fights. If the first time they go in, they don't get to bring their target back.
Yeah, and I actually like the Magi's pickup, because as you said, it allows them to kind of transfer pressure with Solo. Solo can kind of walk up, juke around a little bit. If he gets beats forced, okay, I'll back up. Now your turn to frontline Genetics. And with that finish right now, it's now done. So that's that opportunity for now Genetics to play a little bit more aggressive. And hopefully, it's not the same 3-step process where stun, pluck, kill. Genetics is able to frontline, able to get a little bit more space for this Warriors comp. That's all they've needed. I mean, we see these fights, Genetic dies, but then the comps kind of open up and they're just kind of able to expose that. And a lot of it comes back to just how much this Tiamat is able to do in this late game. But, I mean, still, eyes on Panitom. We've seen Panitom make these plays late game where he finds this massive flank and just gets off a ton of damage.
Genetics is playing super aggressive now that he does have that bubble. Just walks right up next to an Agni, trying to get some vision, try and find anybody. Quig in a bit of danger. Darks of Night's used by Netrioid because Jarcorrr has to go to the sky. He's stuck on the Dharmic Pillar. When he lands, it's into certain death. It's Netrioid to hand it to him, and it's a double kill for the Hunter of the Oni Warriors. Drop kick by Variety, but Panitom will pull him right back in. The Oni Warriors marching down the right side. It's a 3v5, but the Oni Warriors will take their time, head back, retreat to the Fire Giant.
Not opting for the Phoenix, playing it a little bit slower. They have time here to go for this EFG. If I'm the Kings, I want to just get my Phoenixes up. Yes, we're giving up EFG, that sucks, but let's just try to reset this map. Let nobody else get picked. Let's all spawn alive. 30 seconds. That's all it takes. If you can get back to that EFG, yes, you can play this defensive, but there's still a little bit of time for Mirror the Warriors to start forcing something right away.
And this is a battle. 6-7 months in the making, all the culmination of all the work these two teams have done. Genetics leaving the Camelot Kings saying, I think I've got a better chance with these guys. Goes to the Oni Warriors and are now just one game away from sending the reigning world champions all the way back home. Phoenix down on the right side of the map. One bird, respawn, back over on the left. But the Oni Warriors are going to play it patient. In a moment like this, when you're up 12,000 gold, when you have all this momentum, a nice reset is all you need.
And I love it especially because Net has no relics. Net is the most exploitable player on this map. Bede's Aegis somewhere available everywhere else. Just play it slow, let him get his relics up. We just got Fire Giant. We just got EFG. Let's slow it down, let's wait for something. And let's make them kind of get nervous. At this point, if you're a player on the King side, this is what's gonna need to happen. You have to kind of try to make a play, otherwise you're fighting into an EFG team that can just slowly bully you out. And if you're not even pushing up right, the Warriors know something is up. They know that you're looking for a play.
And the Kings know that some members of the Warriors are around this Fury, just from the damage that's been thrown out, the abilities just being lobbed by the Oni Warriors. With this level of a lead, the Oni Warriors just need the Camelot Kings to make the mistake. It's one wrong person to go forward, one pluck, one stun to miss, and the Camelot Kings are gonna have to be the ones who now play defensively against the Warriors.
And I love that the Warriors are grouping up here. You don't want anything to go wrong here. A bead's down, you get plucked, you're just dead. Just play this a little bit slower. I don't even like Solo being up this far. It's just risky for risk's sake. There's just no reason. Let's just 5-man group. Let's start pushing everything up. They have to worry about right. Let's make them worry about every single lane. And the split that I want to see is I want to see Panitom off to the side. Don't put Panitom, make him worry about the Sobek, worry about the Agni. Allow him to take this 1v1, this 2v2 with Solo and him versus CaptainTwig and Variety, because that's nearly unwinnable into an EFG Alma and EFG Susano.
Oni Warriors playing patiently. 3-2 split to left and mid. Right Phoenix not up for any time soon. Dark Knight's used. It's just a takedown. This left side Phoenix, they'll get just that. Mid Phoenix at half health, and so is Panitom. Snipes have got to be good, and they are. Yark trying to save the day, and even CaptainTwig trying to take down SOT. He's got back with Variety. Dropkick beats out by Netrioid, but look at Variety's health bar. He doesn't have much left to stand on. The silence is just too much. Netrioid takes him down.
And a nice little 1-for-1 there. EFG still available. They're going to be healing up. They're walking it down into this Phoenix. They still have the possibility of resetting here or going for it.
Thought that might have gone for the end there for a moment, but with those minions going down, the Oni Warriors still gonna pay respects to the damage of the Kings. It's still 4 alive on both sides. Jungler down for the Warriors. Solo laner down for the Camelot Kings. It's damage versus defense. Can the Camelot Kings hold firm? Sot goes in, stunned out by PMT. The damage is really starting to ring true from Big Man.
I almost wanted to see the Warriors starting to look for that, but unfortunately they just take way too much poke from Big Man, as you said. They have an opportunity to end there with how much just wide ability damage they have on this Titan. They have the Ganesh, they have the Amaterasu, they have also that Tiamat, but they just take way too much damage. And now we're starting to see that late game Agni build really come to fruition. We saw that poke. That wasn't 7 abilities. That was 2 abilities that got them all down to half. And I think that's really who I have my eyes on as we get ready for this final Phoenix. I mean, the Kings are in a bad position, to say the least. 3 Phoenixes down. They have to be able to push these up. They also have to be able to make the decision to defend this EFG. And with really nothing to kind of push up, they don't have like that safe god in left, because there's a really good chase potential from the Warriors. Panitom can kind of just sit over here, guide that wave down, play a little bit slow. But the Kings, pressure's on them right now. They're the one that has to make the play. Warriors just need to let the game come to them. Fire Giant's not up for a little bit. I feel like I've said this 100 times this game, but play it slow. You're in the winning position now. Make them make a mistake.
And who's the player we said the Kings have needed to play around this entire game? BigManTingz on the Agni. Keep eyes on the mid laner, his damage output in these fights. He's going ballistic
with a damage output. He's got a triple book now, pen available to him, alternate timeline still there. This god is going to frag when we get to late game damage, but he has to have an opportunity to do so. The Warriors have been doing a good job of keeping Big Man out of the major fights.
And it feels like this next fight, a lot of it's on Twig. I feel like I was talking him up a lot in the early and the mid game, and just since then, really have not seen too much from him. And both junglers.
Oh no, not like this. Twig has been caught out. He still has a bubble, so he's safe for now. But there are two Warriors on his own. He lost the bubble from the dash of Sot. He's pulled in by Panitom. He's gonna try and fight in the 2v1 because it's all that he can do. Buy as much time for the rest of his team. But the rest of his team is starting on Fire Giant. Can the Camelot Kings secure the objective? Can they go for a kill? Jarcorrr is low. Jarcorrr is only one big shot from death. He's caught on the Ring of Fire. Sot's gonna take him down with the help of Netrioid. But Big Man has turned the tide. He's waiting for that dash cooldown. He goes back in against Dash. The alternate timeline brings him back, but it's Panitom to put him down. The Camelot Kings only have Quig left for defense. The crown has fallen. Camelot is in shambles. There will be a new world champion in Season 10.
And just like that, Quig is all that's left. The last line of defense for this Kings team, and there's nothing for him. That is all she wrote.
The Oni Warriors walk right in a 2-0 against the reigning world champions. Genetics, he's thinking he's made the right call. Let's see how far this run can take him.
And that storyline is the entire definition of this set right here. I mean, Genetics left the Kings. He left to go to this Warriors team because he thought they had better potential to win that ring. And I mean, so far, he made the right decision so far, at least.
World's MVP from last year changes to a new team and is now at the semi-final mark to try and go for back-to-back himself. Knocks down the reigning world champions. We will not see these guys make it past this stage. A big congrats to the Oni Warriors. But it's CaptainTwig at the end there, making a questionable decision, going so high up in the enemy jungle and gets spotted out by two different players and just spells his demise.
And when you're at that point, you're forced into making a play. Twig tries to make that play. He tries to wrap. Unfortunately, he gets caught out by SoloOrTroll, and then you just run him down. There's nothing you can really do at that point. And it's tough because Twig, you're forced into a position to make that. It's not something that's easy. It's not something that's doable all the time. He tries to do it, gets caught out, and at that point, the Kings are just forced into trying to get Fire Giant, and they just can't do it.
They can't get the damage out there. They don't have anything left for the team fight because they use so much to kill the objective out. It's an unfortunate spot. The Kings just got put in that last game. 10, 12,000 down. You're sitting there going, man, all of our Phoenixes are gone. We've got to get something going. And unfortunate for them, it just all falls apart.
But I mean, the opposite side, the Warriors, clean game two. Game one, little tough. You can learn from it. That's always the positive. You can learn from games like that. But the game two is a lot cleaner. I liked the Ganesh. I liked the X-Ball too, something we really haven't seen too much either. Ability to take those fights, turn off the lights, and every team really can't see too much. So shout out Warriors, really good set from them. I think that proves a lot going into the semifinals too.
And I think there's a lot to look at from all of these sets. This one in particular for their opponents to kind of graze on it and see exactly what the Oni Warriors might want to do. Because this is another one of those teams that can play the standard. They can do things no problem, but they also like to think a little bit outside of the box. The Oni Warriors 2-0, the former reigning world champions. They'll move on to the semifinals, and we'll take it over to Kelly on the main stage for our interview with Netrioid.
Thank you so much. Joining me here is Netrioid. Everyone that is still remaining here in the stadium, make some noise for this team. So first, congratulations on your win. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. I mean, last year I couldn't play on a stage in front of a crowd. It would have been my dream, but now I'm making it, so I feel really confident. I feel really happy. And thank you guys for all your support. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here right now, creating such an amazing showcase. But man, that game two looked like it could have gone back and forth. What was the winning moment for you guys, though?
I feel like we just got a better draft, honestly. I feel like that game was unlosable to my eyes. The draft was just too good. Like, as soon as I saw what we were doing, did you guys see like the Pegon and Panitom playing mid against 5? It was so good. Like, I think that moment kind of set it up.
And obviously tomorrow you're going to be going up against the Leviathans. How do you guys feel about that?
We have studied them a lot. I feel like we have everything pretty much ready. As long as we play our game and we just keep having the momentum, I think we should be pretty fine.
And is there anything that you want to say one final time before we send it back to the desk?
I mean, I really said I really appreciate you guys, and I love you all. Let's go!
Back to the desk.
My goodness, a wild day number 1 of the SMITE World Championships comes to a close. It felt like just 12 hours ago I was talking about how we have 4 quarterfinals left to go here today, and Gormizer, we made it.
13. Well, I guess that depends on when we got here. You're right. It was 12 hours ago you were talking about it.
But we made it.
And we made it. Look at us. Who'd have thought?
Not me.
For one final time today, we'll look at the Steel Series Moments of Glory from game number 2 between the Oni Warriors and the Camelot Kings. I thought for a moment, Hazer, like the Kings had some leg left in this game, but the Warriors shut them down.
Yeah, the Kings, I mean, they fought valiantly, right? They fought like world champions. I feel like they haven't really looked like world champions so much in the recent past, but I think they can go home with their heads held high here. A great performance by them, but the Warriors just proved too powerful when it came to team fighting. Maybe it was the drafts, like Netrioid said, but they just seemed to have the better end of these team fights. When it got to 5v5s, they were able to group better and play better with their comp.
Gormizer, what did you see from the Oni Warriors in game?
Honestly, I mean, you heard Net say it. Like, when Pegon and Panitom are playing the way they did, man, it is hard to play against them. And it opens up so much space. I mean, look at this. Watch Netrioid's health bar, and the fact that when it did go down, the lowest it got, now you get to the, the 50%, your 30%, and then nothing gets back to him, right? And when your team is creating that much space for you, when your team is making so much room that you as a carry have literally nothing to worry about until the very, very end after you've killed a few people, you're in a spot where you're finding a lot of success. And a lot of that, while the KDA looks, I think, beautiful down there, of course, we have to give a lot of credit. I think the silences from the Ganesh, as well as just the presence from the Amaterasu, like, creates a lot of space. Panitom getting aggressive. Pegon just playing the way Pegon does. Like, it feels like the Warriors got all up in their face and just forced the Kings to make a decision that they just weren't ready to make.
And something that I'm, thinking we might see a little bit more of so far in this tournament is the Xbalanque pick that Net went to. I mean, he was absolutely chunking. These Silver Branch Hunters might be a little underrated, but Jarcorrr went for that build. This time around, Netrioid went for that build, and some big damage numbers coming through. I wouldn't be surprised if the other ADCs were taking notes.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of range from Hachiman and Ishtar. Yep. You see that a lot, but now we're seeing the Xbalanque. I know it's only on the ult, but man, you saw the impact of it in that replay there. Netrioid doing so much damage from so far out, and also, it's harder to dodge. You can't see the autos coming.
Best comms in the game.
I can't see. Surely SPL level comms are better than that.
No,
right?
We've listened in. That's what they say.
Yeah, did you guys get to do a listen in to a Xbalanque ult at all in the last couple weeks?
We did, and they said we.
And that literally is what it is? You're not making that up?
Not the last couple of weeks, I'll be honest.
But you have done it in the past.
Yes.
You remember it in the past.
Got you.
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, day number 1 of the SMITE World Championships is done. However, if you're here in venue or you're watching online, stick around. We got a post-show coming up. We're going to run back through the entire day. We're going to talk to you a little bit about what we saw and what to expect moving forward. So we got a little bit more for you. You don't want to miss it. Stick around.